Got it? Good. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Town of Pownell Select Board Meeting, January 25th, 2024 at 6 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Board member roll call.
Angie Rowling.
Mike Gardner.
Jamie Percy.
Brian Harris.
Bob Jarvis.
We now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the agenda, public comment, approval of minutes, warrants, correspondence, excess weight permits, Parks and Rec request to apply for Stewart's Holiday Match, employee insurance coverage program, coverage and opt-out for stipend discussion and approval, facility use agreement, continued discussion, Old Town Hall, continued discussion, public comment, executive for personnel, and adjourn. I have a couple of agenda items I'd like to add. I'd like to add discussion on town boards and officials. And I would like to add discussion about correspondence.
And where are you gonna add that, sir?
Where we want to slide them up? You want correspondence before or after correspondence, since it's closed?
Let's do that one before. So we'll do 7A.
And right,
And discussion in town boards and officials. We can do that,
12 or 13.
let's do 12A. I fit right there.
What was the other one? Town boards and officials
Yeah.
and
Correspondence discussion.
correspondence discussion. Okay,
So I'd like to add correspondence discussion in 7A. And town officials, town boards and officials discussion as 12A.
So moved with a change.
The other,
yeah, so I do want to ask about the executive for personnel. I want to get more detail about what that is exactly for.
That's gonna be for executive assistant and administrative assistant.
And who will be in the executive session?
Sorry, have we ever discussed what a personnel executive is for?
I'm sorry.
Have we
I'm gonna-
discussed what a personnel
I'm
executive
not gonna
is for?
discuss who's gonna be in it. I do want to be transparent about what it is gonna be about. And there probably will be action taken when we come out.
Okay, well, then I'll ask bluntly, then, is this about my feedback to town staff?
I'm not gonna,
Not the specific about the power.
Sure, I'll take care of it.
Procedure, sorry.
that's okay. I'm not gonna, answer that question at this time, because if it is about that, then it is an executive. It is an executive. It is an executive session if it was to be about that. But as you know, we're not gonna talk about what an executive session is, other than it is about the executive assistant and the administrative assistant.
Okay, I'm going to say that I do not believe an executive is appropriate by open meeting law. Maybe it is. If it is to discuss my feedback, I will vote no for the executive. And if you want to talk about it with me not in the room, I'm not participating in that. Yeah, and you're free to do it.
And that is your choice.
It is.
And if you don't want to vote for this agenda with the executive, as I have explained it, that is certainly your choice. And if the board, as a member, as a 5-member board votes to not have this agenda with that in there, then so be it. But if they do vote to have that in there as that executive, the way we have worded it, then we will have that executive.
You're absolutely free to go forward with an executive without me participating.
Okay. That's fine. Any more comment on the agenda? All those in favor?
Angie, I.
Motion.
Sorry.
Okay.
I thought I had a second. I thought you did already. I'm sorry. I have a motion on the floor to approve the agenda with the, amendments and additions. And I have a second. And with the executive explained as much as we're going to. All those in favor?
Angie, I.
I don't have to.
Oh, that's right.
No,
Okay. The agenda is approved. I'll open up public comment and give me a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds. We're gonna keep the public comment to 3 minutes. And I will also like to say at the start of this meeting, as we get going here, if for any reason someone seems to get loud for whatever reason or obnoxious, I will ask twice to, I'll ask that person twice, and then we'll ask that person to be removed, whether it be in the room or on Zoom. And if it continues, I will ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting, no matter where we're at. Do we have any public comment here?
I'm not seeing anything online. I'm not sure if anyone in the room.
Anyone in the room?
Yes,
State your name, please.
Angie Rawling. I had a question emailed to me after last week's meeting. I'm not gonna even, should I say the person's name or should I not?
I think the name should be,
Should be read? Okay.
yes, I do.
This is from Jim Kosis. Thought I'd ask you the same question as I asked Harry. Are you totally in agreement to have homeless people living at the Ladbroke Motel to be allowed to enter into a town community whenever they want to cook their meals? To my understanding, the access to the building would be a use of a hidden key box. And my response to him at the time was that I would gladly answer his question in public comment. And what I would like to say to Jim is I would like him to go back and to read or to rewatch the meeting on July 27th about the community center, because it talked about historical, health, social services, the goal, needs for our community. It did not say anything about homeless people or a locked box. The next step was to begin to apply for grants and opportunities, specific goals in mind, collecting quotes from contractors, and to have a small kitchen installed with numerous other things. Just wanted to remind him that 200 residents took this survey, and it was from the Vermont Health Community, the Parks and the Rec, and Tara also helped. Nowhere did it ever say anything about homeless entering a community center whenever they wanted to cook or to use a hidden key box. I just would like to put this out there. In Bennington County alone, this year, there has been over 863 people that are homeless. 296 of them are children under the age of 17. 39 over the age of 65 and 16 veterans. If we, as a community, could help these people in some kind of form, I am more gladly to help in that kind of way whatsoever. And I'd like Jim to remember, when I was on the school board about 10 years ago, we put a washer and dryer in and also a shower so children could come to school, wash their clothes, and take a shower because they didn't have water or a place to wash their clothes. Just be mindful of things like that. And you could help the community tremendously by taking some of your,
30 seconds.
go help somebody. Go help the homeless shelter in Bennington. Go volunteer somewhere. Do something good for somebody. Thank you.
Is there any more public comment here? Anybody in the room? We didn't have anybody raise their hand. Anyone in the room? No one in the room? Okay. Approval of minutes. January 11th, 2024, select board meeting. Have a second?
I'll second.
Bear with me, I had one of the sets, I don't remember if I had the 11th or the 18th. It is the 11th. I think so. I had a couple of corrections that I went through them. Couple of, well, it may only be a question, actually. Number 11. Down towards the bottom of 11, when Angie motioned to have terms of the Conservation Commission as follows, 3 3-year terms. And she, on here, it's 2 2-year terms. I thought it was 2 1-year terms that we voted on, and I just want to be clear.
Yeah, and the 3-year terms were to be staggered the first.
That's right, and that was fine in here, the way that's written up in the minutes, as far as I can tell. I just thought that we had discussed that it was going to be,
Yeah.
2 1-year terms.
In the video, it was stated 2 2-year terms. I don't know if you guys have to re-motion it. Or if if you just give me permission to change it, because in the video, it does say 2 2 years.
Okay.
So your minutes are correct, we were wrong.
Well, as a comment on that, I think we intended it to be 2 1-year terms, so that it would be the same. So if we said 2 2-years, we misspoke.
Yeah.
So I think we do need the motion to say,
1 years, it definitely was spoken that way before the motion was made.
Right.
But I just wanted to make sure the motion was exact.
I'll entertain a motion to change that, the minutes 11, as I just read those, to 2 1-year terms on the Conservation Commission.
so move.
Second it.
Any more discussion on that part of it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I make a motion to have the Conservation Committee membership reflect the same as what we just did for the 2 1-year and omit the 2 2-year.
I'll second.
Any more discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then, on 15, budget discussion continued. The only thing I saw there was that, I believe it should read Casella instead of Tam. That raised the price of doing business from, just a correction, 6% increase. It said, Terry reminded the board that there will be a 6% increase to the town from TAM across the board this year. I believe it should read Casella.
Yes.
So that's just a correction. I don't think we need to mention that. That's the only thing I had on the January 11th meeting or minutes. Any more questions, corrections, additions?
I just had a typo. It was number 10, 10 lines down. It says now is no the time of for them to rebuild. And it should probably say not. Now is not the time of. That was the only thing I caught.
Probably might twist it.
Oh, yep, now is not the time to dredge the ditch.
But yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. I didn't have it right in front of me. I remember it was number, it was in section 10, line number 10.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else on January 11th minutes? I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor with the
Aye.
corrections? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
January 18th minutes.
So moved.
That was our budget meeting.
Yep.
Yes.
Second it. Special meeting.
Special meeting, yeah. I have a motion, I have a second. Any corrections, questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so now I can get rid of you. out of my way. I usually don't have this much stuff. And I'm thoroughly prepared tonight. I should. Warrants. Accounts payable. Accounts payable, January 19th, 2024, 29,195.06.
So
So
moved.
moved. A second.
Any questions, corrections, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Accounts payable January 26, 2024, $48,168.42.
So moved.
Second it.
Any comments, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Payroll January 19th, $13,166.04.
So move.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Payroll January 26, 2024, $11,280.48.
So moved.
Second it.
Questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
6 warrants. All right, now we are on to correspondence. What's the correspondence?
You're doing the conversation about correspondence first. I think you put that aside.
Oh, you're right, I'm sorry. I get two. I'm gonna get rid of this one because that's the one that doesn't have notes on it. That just has my numbers for the warrants. Okay. Correspondence discussion. I added that on here tonight because, we have, and our policy has been to read the correspondence that come to us via email or however they come. There's some lengthy correspondence here tonight. I'd like to, my opinion is, how do we know for sure that the correspondence, even though they come via email, is from the person who said they sent it? I would like to have, if we're going to have correspondence read from here on in by the board, well, I think we should not, the board shouldn't be reading correspondence like that. I think if a person wants to have correspondence, they should either zoom in because we've had that opportunity. And there's two opportunities to come on for public comment. They can do it there or even correspondence. And that way, or come into the meeting.
Well, I know I can come in usually half an hour early to check for mail and other correspondence, just to take and skim through the stuff.
Mhm.
Read what
What we had talked about in previous meetings, or at least maybe it was previous boards, was that if somebody wanted it read, they should say so.
in their
And
email.
if they said so, we would read it. And I think we've got at least two that said that they want it.
I don't have a problem reading the correspondence tonight, because we have, we've set precedents and we have in the past read the correspondence. We already read one through sort of public comment. I just think moving forward, there's significant opportunity for someone if they have correspondence, to be here or zoom into,
Well,
it's just my opinion, that's all,
no, I understand. And it's, I think we need to be careful about providing disincentives for public feedback. I think we always, if we can do it. So according to the LCT, it becomes even on public comment, as well as correspondence, if you've got a ton of it, then you kind of have to prioritize because you can't spend an hour. You can't spend an hour reading it. And the same is true with public comment. If we've got 20 people lined up, you might want to give them a minute apiece rather than 3 minutes apiece.
Mhm.
But it does say you can even exceed it if the topic warrants it. So there gives us some flexibility is
Right.
basically what I'm saying.
I just think that there's ample opportunity to, if you have correspondence with the board. There's an ample opportunity to have your own correspondence in here. Maybe a signed letter instead of an email. And the more I think about it, I mean, I think every single one of us in here has been hacked somewhere one time or another. I just hate to have a correspondence read that wasn't from a certain
Individual incentive.
That's right. I would hate to have that happen.
I don't recall that ever happening, but
I don't
you never
either.
want to.
in today's world, right? Could happen tonight,
Could happen.
you know. Just my own opinion, my own thoughts, but it's a board decision. So what's the board's pleasure on that?
I would think unless we have an actual reason to believe that it's not legitimate, that we would go ahead and read it.
Any other input from the board?
I agree that if somebody is requesting that their correspondence be read into the record, as I think we should do so if it's appropriate, like obviously if it's just a diatribe and it's profanity laced and a directed attack type deal, then no. But if it's legitimate, topic based, respectful, I have no issue with it.
Okay. Gene?
Yeah, if they've requested it, I have no issue with it.
Okay. Angie?
I have no problem with it as long as they request.
Okay. So there's some correspondence here tonight. Anybody can jump in and read these if they want to, but I'll read them. First one is from Jim Boutin. So I guess I'm just gonna read his correspondence. Well, I probably should read the whole email chain, right?
No, I would just read it.
Just read the correspondence, because there's an email chain back and forth between Bob and Jim. To the select board of the town of Pownell, I'd like to express my opinion on the idea of creating a community center in the old town office building. I agree with Bob Jarvis in this particular instance that the board has a good reason to limit government involvement and rely on the public sector. As you are aware, the Solomon Wright Library is a public nonprofit foundation. The library board of trustees for the past year has been exploring ways in which the facility can be used more as a community center. We have an excellent remodeled building that offers a spacious meeting area, a game and crafts room, computer and printer terminals, kitchen and bath, large outdoor lawn space, parking, and a coffee house across the street. We already anticipate expanding hours of operation and have recently hired a new local director and experience and ambition to help us meet our goal of making our facility a community center. Our director, Emily Gold, is the past president of the Bennington Farmers Market Group, where she created, organized, and executed specific events. She is proficient with online website newsletters and social media, has worked with civic and economic development organizations. She has expressed to the board goals of creating a variety of activities for children and families that would occur at both weekly and monthly intervals. And I want to be clear that it's to the Solomon Wright Board, not the Board of Selectmen,
Right.
not this board, okay? I just want to make that clear. Would like to build on playgroup story time to get young children and their caregivers to the library. Throughout the winter, she envisions showing monthly movies or offering open play on board games Saturdays to encourage families to come in and use the library. When the weather gets warmer and we can utilize the outside space, she suggests inviting local acoustic musicians to perform and offer mini concerts. We could acquire lawn games that could be played outside like croquet. We will be looking for grants and other funding opportunities to bring in groups like the VINS Nature Center and other performers, local authors, artists, and illustrators for special events. My question to you as a select person is, with all of this already in place, why would the town want to create another facility? A bureaucracy that would have to be financially supported with staff, maintenance, and government official operation. It makes no sense. I favor selling the former office as is. The arguments against a shared well and property boundary with the existing church are not uncommon in real estate transactions and are for the attorneys to work out in the deed. Happens all the time. Please join in supporting our initiative at the Solomon Wright Public Library of making our facility a community center for all of the town of Pownell to enjoy. Thank you, Jim Boutin.
Do you want me to help you read?
No, I get it. Well, no, I got it. I just want to try to stay somewhat organized. That's all. This one is from Michelle Peckrell, Planning Commission. Pownell Select Board, I am writing to you as a member of the Pownell Planning Commission and ask that my comments be read as part of correspondence or public comment at your next regular meeting. I am also including the chair of the PC so it can be discussed at our next meeting. I watched the most recent regular select board meeting on 1/11/24. I thought that Bob's presentation was very interesting. I would have thought that the planning commission would have been involved in a conversation about uses of the town hall, especially as it exists in the village designation town green. As you are aware, the planning commission is going to be working on development analysis and plans for the town green with the BCRC, funded by a municipal planning grant. This process will include various studies and opportunities for public input. I think there are a lot of important points made about following proper process in the meeting. In my years involved in Pownell government, I have seen many instances of proper process not being followed and the fallout afterwards. However, I will focus my comments on one particular point of discussion. At one point, the chair said something like, if we sell the building to a private business, doesn't that defeat the purpose of a town green? I want to address this question. What does town green mean? Town green does not mean town owned. The town green is not a center of municipal business and assets. A town green village designation is a mixed-use space that incorporates any combination of public and private spaces from the state of Vermont Agency of Commerce and Community Development. The Vermont Village Green Initiative is restoring appreciation for village greens and raising awareness about the important cultural and economic role they play. Vermont's village greens and commons serve as the physical, historic, and cultural heart of many communities, hosting concerts, fairs, parades, seasonal festivals, and farmers markets. Integral to the Vermont brand and quality of life, village greens provide residents and visitors with a place to gather, exercise, recreate, celebrate, and engage in commerce and community. To promote reinvestment and awareness in Vermont's village greens, the state nonprofit and local partners are working to document, showcase, and revitalize these shared public spaces for future generations. As you can see from this description from the ACCD, which is the organization that many grants and other opportunities will come from town green village development, the town green is a place of community and commerce, not solely municipal business. Another point to add here was suggested at the 1/11/24 meeting that selling the historic old town hall would be losing the building. This is not a fair statement. There are many examples of buildings on the historic register that are occupied and maintained by private people, homes, families, and also businesses. I want to give you an example that I think is a good one. The town of North Bennington has a town green officially registered as such in the Town Greens Initiative. On this town green are multiple private business, many if not all located in historic buildings. Some examples of this, the historic Powers Market, Pangea Restaurant, a bookstore, hair salon, and various offices. There is the free library, which is not town owned. In the center is a small park with seating and a fountain. The municipal building is actually located several blocks from the green. I suggest that the select board go back to the drawing board regarding any and all projects involving the old town hall and the town green. First, it is important that you understand what a town green is. Research examples of thriving town greens that already exist in Vermont and allow the planning commission BC do the preliminary work of evaluating and seeking public input regarding the area. Don't skip ahead without doing your due diligence and stop making statements that aren't fully informed. This is how we create a lot of confusion and chaos in town. I've seen it happen many times before. Government initiated projects often move very slowly, but this isn't necessarily bad. They move slowly because when done right, they are thoroughly researched and then presented to the public on multiple occasions to get their input. Thank you for your time. Who's this one's not signed?
It's from the planning commission.
Oh, okay, sorry, that's right. It was handed over like, it does say it at the top. Sorry. According to Vermont statute 24 VSA 4325, the planning commission is to undertake capacity studies and make recommendations on matters of land development, urban renewal, transportation, economic and social development, urban beautification and design improvements, historic and scenic preservation, and undertake comprehensive planning, including related preliminary planning and energy studies. As you know, the Pownell Planning Commission is just beginning its work with the BCRC to work on planning and possibilities for development of the Pownell Village Town Green. It is our official recommendation that you hold off on all decision-making, planning, and or development related to this area, which includes the old town hall, church, Center Street Park, and new town hall, until the planning commission has completed this work. We believe that once our work of seeking public input and conducting various studies is completed, the town will be in a much better position to make sound decisions regarding any change of use or development of town assets. This recommendation was supported by a unanimous vote of all present members of the planning commission at their regular meeting 1/23/24. You have copies of these, right? So they can be on the minutes.
Consider if I have.
Okay,
Also,
yeah, that's it for me.
okay, so Stewart Shop, number 199, submitted a second-class license application. I need approval, I have 3 of them.
That for liquor, or that for the tobacco?
Second class, I think that's, Angelino Barres, tobacco. Tobacco.
Make a motion to accept the application, second class application for Stewart's.
Have a motion on the floor in a second, or do I have a second? Sorry.
I'll second, but with a question. Do we have to do these, you said 3, right?
Yeah.
Do we have to do them separately?
So,
Please.
Okay. Oh, I wasn't sure if your motion did it separately.
oh, that's right, to the second class for Stewart's.
Second, yeah, that's only one.
Okay. I'll second.
So the motion is to approve the second class license for Stewart's. In the second. Any more discussion, questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Stewart Shops 199 has submitted a tobacco license application.
Make a motion to accept Stewart's tobacco license application.
I'll second.
Any questions, comments on the motion was much more clear. Any questions, comments on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
The final one is Stewart Shops application for tobacco substitute endorsement.
That's like
Make a
e-cigarettes.
motion for Stewart's second class tobacco substitute application.
Second.
Have any questions, comments on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, I fell asleep there.
That's all right. Happens to the best of us.
And that's it for you, right? Okay, excess weight permits. I have, Barrett Trucking signed by Joel.
That the only one or?
No, you wanna do them all together or you wanna do them separate? We usually do them separate, don't we?
Okay.
I don't care. We'll do them all together if you want to. I have 2. Barrett Trucking signed by Joel, and the other one is Newport Sand and Gravel, Carroll operating as Carroll Concrete, signed by Joel.
Make a motion to accept Joel's recommendation of the excess weight permits.
Second.
Any questions, comments on those? They are both fleet permits, just so I'm clear. Any more questions, comments on those? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This or another way.
Mhm.
Parks and Rec request to apply for Stewart's Holiday Match Program.
Okay, I have a letter from Jennifer. Dear Pownell Select Board, Parks and Rec is seeking your permission to apply for the Stewart Shop Holiday Match Program, which is accepting applications through the end of January 2024. We have applied for this program and received funding of $1,500 each year for the last few years. In 2023, these funds allowed us to install a high-quality picnic table and trash receptacle at Strobridge Park for Pownell residents to enjoy. Previously, we've used these monies to help pay for improvements on Center Street Park. I would ask that the Select Board please approve Parks and Rec request to submit this application. Regards, Jennifer Boucher, Chair of Parks and Rec.
So moved.
A second.
Any discussion, questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Employee insurance coverage and opt-out stipend discussion and approval. Everyone got that?
So you all have the figures that other towns pay, with opt-out. We currently pay $40 a week. That's a very old stipend amount.
Everyone has that? What's your pleasure on this?
That comes out to a little over 2,000 a year.
2080.
That's per person, correct?
Per person that
Yes.
doesn't take the health insurance that's offered.
Right.
So it looks to me like with the information that you provided to us. It's like Putney,
All towns do something different.
they do
Some
something
Yeah.
towns
extremely
do full
different.
Premium,
Mhm.
some towns do like an hourly, like an hour, but a couple dollars an hour, some do like just a percentage, like a 45%. It really just depends on what you guys wanna do.
Some of it's an annual, some,
With our health insurance premium right now is about $1,100, right?
And we budgeted as if everyone was taking it.
Okay, just because
Everyone knows.
one town has a 45% buyout, so that's basically 500 a month.
Yeah.
I was just trying to make sure we have all the figures across here that we're looking at.
You said our premium was 1,100.
That's what I
Is that per pay period or for the month?
month. So a 45% buyout is $495 based on $1,100. And everybody, you can see Putney's, Waitsfield, Bristol, Morrisville, Calais. And we have, there's five. There's five examples. And there's quite a broad range actually, when you look at that,
yes.
Goes from basically 500 a month down to 200 a month. It's like the least expensive one.
We want to split the
Well-
difference? Do something in between there?
So if Bristol offers $4,000 annually right now, but it's paid out weekly. That's $76 and change a week. We're offering $40 a week is what we're paying right now. So that would be,
Mike, can I say something? About the insurance?
yes.
That was the $40.
Well, hold on.
Oh,
Does any board member have a problem with Ellen, our town treasurer, speaking on this?
No.
As we're,
No, I don't.
so the $40 was set a long time ago and health insurance was about $450, $500 a month.
Mhm.
Now it's double. That's why there's a question on it.
right, no, I understand that.
But, and like Tara said, it is in the budget, and when they take the buyout, it does come from the health insurance line. The expense of the buyout, just so that you understand.
And that information came from Ellen Stromeyer, the town treasurer.
Oh,
Sorry.
I-
No, that's all right. I got you covered. We're good.
Thank you.
What's the board's pleasure?
Please include in your motion when it should start. Effective immediately, hopefully.
Let's do it in two separate motions,
Okay.
so we don't get
Make sure
confused.
please.
What's your pleasure?
What was the 4,000? You said $76 of,
$4,000 a year is about $76 and change a week.
so that's almost doubling it
Mhm.
compared to what it is right now.
Mhm. They're getting about $2,080 a year right now.
Yeah. It's a difference of 36.9, $36.92.
It's basically doubling it, close to it.
Yep.
Mhm. And I believe that Ellen, I'm gonna ask you, put you on the spot. How long ago would you say that $40 was based on?
That's,
Just curiosity.
I should have looked it up.
10 years, 12 years, 9
At
years?
least 10,
Okay,
at least,
okay,
15.
okay,
maybe even longer.
okay. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. I was trying to pull it up in my head. I know a very long time ago.
Okay,
I think it all started way back when they started the wastewater facility and everything. It's been 17 years right since then, so I want to say it's gonna be at least 10 or 15 minutes at least, maybe with the 17.
That's been a long time.
Mm-hmm.
That's
it's your partner.
Do we want to go with 4,000 seems reasonable to me. That's the $78 per week. If it's paid out weekly. And it's a considerable increase over what we currently have, right? Almost double, but maybe not quite.
Well, I was thinking round it up to an even 80. Just because if you look at all 5 of the examples and do the math in between them, that would be, it looks like a fair margin in the higher towns versus the lowest.
So you go, $3,800.
I took out the lowest town, which was less than ours.
That makes the stipend $4,160 a year. If you were to go with $80 a week times 52 weeks.
But that's just my suggestion.
I'm sorry, what did you say that brought it up to annually?
4160
I'm
at $80
How
a
many
week.
employees?
versus the 76.
I think that's fair. It's not an additional burden to the taxpayers. It's money that's already been budgeted.
And it's actually an incentive
There's 3 that opt out.
to reduce the health care expenses.
I just asked Tara how many
About that,
employees with insurance, and it's 3.
It's only 3 right now.
It's actually a savings on our budget
Right.
if they opt out. What's your pleasure?
I'm okay with 80, so I'll make a motion. We approve the stipend incentive, however you wish to phrase it, for opting out of the health insurance to $80 per pay period for a total annual cost of $4,160 per year per employee that opts out.
I think what are our pay periods weekly?
Yes.
Okay, no, that's good.
I'll second that. The opt-out payment.
Any questions on the motion? Everyone clear on that? And our pay periods are weekly. Any more questions, comments? All those in favor of $80 per week as a stipend for the employees who do not take the health insurance?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So, and next is when do we do it?
And you want to start that?
I would say next pay period. That'd be next week.
Next period, okay.
I make a motion that we start this effective the next pay period, which is week ending 2/2.
I think it ends 1.
2/2, right?
2/2/24.
Second it.
And we're not doing retroactive.
No.
I just want to make sure we're covering that before the question's raised.
Why she-
So this will start pay period.
February 2nd.
Do we have,
It'll end on February 2nd, but the pay periods, when's your pay period start, Joel? 28th on Sunday? Yeah. Right.
do we have the budget for it?
Yes.
I mean, the reason I'm asking is because the next budget doesn't start till July 1st.
Yeah, Tara said the insurance budget is already calculated as every employee opts to take health insurance.
Be 2/2, right?
There will be pay period ending.
Ending 2.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm. But it actually starts on the 27th on Saturday. Just want to make sure.
Oh,
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion is to start this next pay period, which ends on February 2nd, $80 per week per employee that does not take the health insurance. All those in favor?
Aye.
I believe that the board was still kind of waiting to make the motion on the insurance coverage for employees. The additional benefit that, you've decided to budget for, you did not vote on yet. We need to vote on that in open session, and then I can change it in the personnel policy and bring it back.
That's the one where we discussed on picking up the difference this year when it went up on January 1st.
No, you did vote to do that, but you did not vote to cover 100% of employees' premiums,
Okay.
I thought we did that, but okay.
employee and family,
To start
as discussed.
on July 1st.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought we did that. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to, for the town to cover 100% of town employee insurance starting July 1st, 2024, which is an increase from 66%. Is that right, Ellen?
Yes, it is.
That's what I thought.
So move.
Seconded.
Which gives our town employees, it actually gives them a raise on their weekly pay versus giving them their insurance and
Except
a separate pay raise. Just wanted to be clear. Any more questions or comments on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We're just going into the next one. We're done with insurance, right? That was the only thing we had there.
Yep.
Facility use agreement continued. So we have facility use agreement, recurring events, facility use agreement, one-time use, and facility use policy. So we beat this around for months and months and months, and it's time to move this one along.
Well, have we given any feedback? Have we decided on what the fee is? There was both a fee and I believe there was still an open question on whether or not there was going to be a security deposit. So there are some open questions that we need to hash through.
Right. And those are highlighted in red on everything that we have in front of us. How do you want to handle it? You want to go to you want to start with the recurring event? There's three things on facility use. Recurring events, one-time use, and facility use policy. Where do you want to start? Let's start with facility use policy.
and yes. That's
So everyone has that in front of them.
yep.
Hopefully everybody's read it.
Mhm.
So I've compared this to the VLCT model policy and it pretty much is the model policy.
Okay, definitely. Just kind of copied and pasted and then, was looking for your guys' feedback on it.
So in this one here, the security deposit is listed as something new that needs to be taken care of. And at the very beginning of it is facilities to which this policy applies, which has available hours, user fee, maximum occupancy. What facility to have in there?
Yep.
I think at this point, we're sitting in the only facility that's currently available for that. If another facility becomes available, we can always come back and revisit and add it to the list. And it may have different rules than the other.
Well, with the town green is our other.
Well, we're talking about a building, right? We're
Yeah,
talking about,
no, you're right. I think that we can leave that language there, so in the future, if we do have other buildings or facilities.
Well, right, but in this section, I think we're supposed to itemize the facilities that this applies to.
Okay,
Right, and because they may not have the same hours, user fees, and they certainly won't have the same occupancy. So what I'm suggesting is right now, it is the schoolhouse portion of the town hall. And then we may add others to it, but there's other decisions to make on those that I don't think we're prepared to make tonight. That's all I'm suggesting. You know, if we're talking about the facility, let's go ahead and put that in. The schoolhouse, the town hall schoolhouse.
so input this, under facility, put the town hall schoolhouse. Schoolhouse section of the town hall, maximum occupancy 45. For instance.
And now we just have to decide on available hours and user fee. If everybody's in agreement.
Mhm.
Okay, one at a time. Let's do that one. What are we looking at for available hours? There's not a lot of nights that during the week that are available for that. There's people, do any of our boards or commissions use it on a Monday?
I think occasionally you might end up with like a special meeting. Like I know, like schedule wise, we've met as Parks and Rec on a Monday before. It's rare, usually
Well,
if we
that
can't meet on Tuesday, but.
board of trustees, civil authority rather, I mean,
Board, yeah, PCA.
they use it on Monday nights.
Do we want to start with weekends and see if we have demand
Well,
for
that's
more?
right.
And then
That's-
maybe come back and change it if we see that there's demand and days that we know we aren't going to use it.
That's where I was going with it. I think that at this point in time, because this building, this particular space, this municipally owned space that we're all sitting in right now, could potentially be used any given night for one of our regular boards or commissions. Monday through Friday,
Mhm.
because we've all sat here on different nights. Friday night, we've all, we've been in here on a Friday night for something or whatever. And I hate to be able to not have I would hate to not be able to be able to schedule something along of a vicious dog bite thing because somebody was in here having a birthday party.
A special need, correct?
I mean, we do have some other space, but this is our space. Just my thought.
Something to take into consideration with this policy is who and how. Who is going to be here on a weekend? How are they getting into the building?
Somebody's gotta allow access.
There's definitely something you have to take into consideration.
And what would be nominal daytime hours?
I don't know. It depends on what it is, I guess.
The building's usually open from 8 to 3:30 or 8 to 4
Usually 8 to 4 at least, yeah.
During the week.
during the week.
What do we want to take our building that's on a business day, town business,
Exactly.
do we want to take that and have it unavailable for? I know I've sat in here on town business, having Zoom meetings,
Right.
in the middle of the day because, it's a private space where, you're not trying to be private, you're just trying to be uninterrupted.
Right.
So,
Ellen has a question
No, I just have,
or a suggestion.
may I?
I got a question. Does the board have a problem with questions or comments from the audience?
No,
I do not.
I don't.
Recognize that.
Ellen?
Ellen Strohmeyer, treasurer. All I want to say is during the day, during working hours, this place echoes everywhere. Even when there are doors closed, we can still hear each other. There is no sound, it's not soundproof. Okay, so if there was a birthday party or something going on here and we're all trying to work there, the restrooms are right there. They have to come out to be able to use the restrooms. You have to allow them to be able to go out there. Can't rent them or whatever you're doing, this space and not allow them to use the bathroom, which means during business hours. If it's a 2-year-old's birthday party, we may have 15 young children running through the town hall during her working hours, which is fine if somebody is here to control that. I'm just saying it echoes, so
Right.
just take that into consideration in your hours of scheduling for the people that are all day trying to do their job.
Thank you.
Carl?
Just a quick question, is there a?
Carl Strohmeyer?
Oh, excuse me, Carl Strohmeyer, is there an insurance requirement?
That's down further, yes.
Okay, I just didn't, oh.
Yep.
Okay.
Joel?
Joel Farrington?
Could I suggest actually maybe do it downstairs? Is that a,
Well, that's
it's
a,
a big space down there?
Well, the Historical Society has one part and then the bottom part over there is storage.
But, well, yeah, it can be cleaned up. There's a lot of room down there. And it's painted. I mean, it's not bad down there.
no,
And they had to put the ceilings in and finish it off to get the certificate of occupancy,
And there is a bathroom.
and there's a bathroom.
yeah, there is that.
Should you really have, you talk about weekends and stuff, people, you know, in here with vital records in the offices and I don't know.
No,
And,
valid point.
and you can't confine them to this space because there's not a restroom right there. They have to, right, they have to be in the main part of the building.
If they were, somebody would have to be here while somebody's using the facility.
Joel's idea is not horrible. I kind of like the idea. Now that he says it.
The occupancy is probably higher down there than it is in here too.
Can we find, I hate
I
to
will.
say,
No,
can we,
it's okay, I can call.
can we like table this and find out? I hate to do that to you. Bring it back next
Can we
time.
address the other things in it?
Yeah.
Can we look at the other stuff?
Why?
We don't have to table
We
it.
don't have to table it. We can make that motion right now. The space, the facility space that is available
Right, it's downstairs. Okay.
is the downstairs space adjacent to the Historical Society space.
Mhm.
And then we will need to install,
Once we have our
That's what-
certificate of
Well,
occupancy.
they can lock the door.
no, we will need to install, like a gated fence wall or some kind of wall where our records are downstairs. Just something to keep in mind, because there is storage downstairs too.
Restroom right down there.
Yep,
Yeah,
and it would be very easy, just one of them things you kind of, you know, those accordion gates. that
Accordion
you pull
gates
across
that you lock.
and lock.
Yeah, I wasn't really for having people use this space up here. It's a cost to the town. Because we're gonna have to hire somebody to be here. And you're still gonna have to hire somebody at least to open and close the basement. So you're gonna have to give somebody
Mhm.
like a 3 or 4 hour minimum, whatever we do. You know, on an on-call basis, right? I think that would be the consistent way to do it.
we have to open it.
If we have, like our wastewater guy, like Jeff's on call. You know, if we're paying him 4 hours, then somebody who opens and closes downstairs should probably be paid in a similar fashion.
Plus up here, right, to lease out the space, you're gonna have to move all of this out.
Right, we'd have to move our,
Somebody would have to come and
Yeah.
move it out.
I wasn't a big proponent for.
There's a-
using the space out there.
Comment from Julie also, she wanted to say that it would make her feel better because her space is wide open.
Her, everything over there, the clerk's office doesn't even have a door for one.
I'll entertain a motion to make the downstairs space of the town hall adjacent to the Historical Society space available for,
Maybe a comment on that. Should we wait on the motion until we've decided the other things so we can put them in here? Because basically what we're deciding is what we're gonna put in the facility. It won't be the schoolhouse, it'll be the downstairs portion of the house, but we still have to, of the town hall. But I think there's still other open questions here. If we answer all those open questions, then we can do a motion to approve it with all changes. Because I think we still have more to talk about, right?
Mhm.
yeah, I was just gonna give us a starting point, Bob, because we didn't have one. We had 0 starting point
So, and so that, that's good. I think we're gonna move forward with saying the downstairs portion, and I like that a lot better because I'm looking at the mailboxes over there and thinking about kids running through. But I think there's a couple more changes and a couple more decisions that we need to make, and then we can approve the policy all at once. But
I was gonna try to do it. Yeah. I don't know. Should we?
6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Well, I'm thinking that we should approve each one so there's no confusion. And then it's all gonna be in one policy anyway. Right? It's all gonna be written into one policy. I just don't wanna have a motion that says we're gonna rent out the space or lease or whatever we're gonna call it. Allow use of the space down there and it's gonna be available, from 8 to 5 and it's gonna cost $50 and the maximum occupancy, we can't answer that tonight anyway.
Correct.
But I was gonna try to do it one at a time. The fee, the available hours and the space is what I was gonna try to do so that it wasn't a big, long, confusing motion.
Okay, I'm fine with that too. I
So
I thought we would just make one and hit it for the portion. And I think we're all in agreement that it's the downstairs.
That's what-
How, and of course, we have to come up with the verbiage on saying the downstairs portion because we don't want it confused with Pownell Historical Society.
Well, that's why I think if we say adjacent to the historical society space. Right?
Mhm.
Because next door sounds pretty backwoods. What's your pleasure?
As far as the available hours? For any of
We gotta
it?
keep going, right? Or
I'd say available hours, Saturday, Sunday, say 8 to 4, or we can break it up into like 2 4-hour blocks.
Mhm. Minimum of 4 hours.
Cause I was thinking a party or like a shower or whatever is
Well, like
usually no
most,
long.
like a kid's birthday party, like
Yeah, they're no
2
longer,
3 hours, like it's pretty much you're done.
right. I mean, with the good part of that, with the portion of it being downstairs is they can use the park.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm also looking at it like whoever's gonna have to be available for it, we're gonna have to pay them. And I'm kind of thinking the user fee needs to at least cost what it's gonna cost the taxpayers to pay somebody to come here, open it up, kind of hang around and then lock it up.
I think $25 an hour is fair, but that's my opinion.
Well, that's why I'm thinking like we should probably break it up into like certain blocks of time. Cause I don't want to make it to where like, oh, I gotta pay for 8 hours, but we're only gonna be there 2.
No, right, exactly. And I don't want to make it so expensive that people don't want to use it either.
Yeah,
So just to thinking this through, now that it's not the town hall, then now that it's not this room in the upstairs, that means the open hours can be the same as the open hours of the town hall. Just like the library, when you rent out all you do is sign up for it. You don't need to pay anything, but you can just sign up to use a room at the library. And I've done that in the past. But that means that we can start with those available hours just being normal business hours, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to whatever. And then trying to think of a way to throw in weekends. Weekends as a special arrangement weekends are available as a special arrangement, that sort of thing. Because we're gonna have to talk, because then we're gonna have to have somebody come in, open up the space, lock it up when they're done, that sort of thing.
So it'd be weekends per request, but hours between 8 and 4.
Yeah, so we could do 8 and 4, Monday through Friday, and then weekends by request and I think that's probably something along those lines, but. we
you're
need
still
flush
gonna have
out
to cover the
yeah.
staffing during the week. Like somebody's gonna have to kind of be available down there.
Right, and I don't want it to be, I
On what?
don't want it to be, our administrative assistant or executive assistant. I don't want it to be, I guess we could have, Billy could be here if it was in the morning. but because he's here anyway. But, you know, he's also, if they're gonna close up at 2:30 or whatever, he's working for the road crew.
I say we start with weekend hours and we see what kind of demand we have. And if we get enough requests to where people want to try to use it during the week, we can try to expand it.
Well, hold on. Joel, do you have a problem
Well, no.
letting him break away long enough to lock the door?
Run over in the afternoon and close up, it's not a big thing. I don't think he's gonna wanna work nights and weekends much. Right. Maybe, well, I don't know. Something Garrett, doctor.
I'll approach him about that. That's fine, or anybody. Well, I mean, the thing to do about that is put it out to the town employees that we already have. If
Right.
anybody's interested in doing that on weekends. Somebody may be interested in that for a 4-hour pay period.
And if you have a responsible party like the firehouse, right?
Yeah, so at the firehouse, we let them in.
Right.
And they know what they use, they use it. We don't have to stay there.
Right.
They have to clean up, we go back and check, and then they usually give us a donation. We don't charge, but everybody always gives some kind of a donation for the
Right.
use of it, but that's.
And your policy is they lock the door when they leave.
And they lock
Shut
the
lights
door
off
when they
and,
leave, but that, yeah, because
No, we have an alarm.
We have an alarm system, so we.
Right, I know.
give that out, so.
Correct. I know.
So
we-
somebody would have to do that, but yes, they lock the door on the way out. And then one of us would go back and check
And we,
to make sure everything was off.
the alarm system, right now, we can't isolate just the downstairs door, can we? With this code?
We could.
Okay, because that's the only other thing that I don't want is the whole building to be open. Even though the building's technically secured by key.
Right. Yeah, we would have to have the alarm company separated. It's possible.
I'm thinking you put your code in and then put a separate code in for that.
Well,
Downstairs.
the doors will open up here if the alarm's off, as long as you don't unlock the door, because then if you're doing the code downstairs.
That's what he's saying.
Reset,
That's what he's saying. He doesn't want it
Right.
whole building
Just in case.
unprotected.
In case somebody,
just in case. I get it.
Jenny, do you have something?
I was just curious, I mean, you're talking.
Jenny, do I?
Jenny, you were-
But I got it.
Have you been having a high demand for birthday parties for 2-year-olds? I mean, I thought that we're talking about like meeting space,
right,
but not like event party space, like what, if someone can be like, hey, I want to have my birthday party at the town.
We have a park out there.
But I mean, you can also restrict what the space, like, you know, it's for meetings, it's for this, it's for that, but.
I don't,
So if you're requiring insurance, certificate of insurance, that's not really applicable to birthday parties.
Yeah, I think probably the birthday party thing was just a.
I was.
Yeah, I think they were just-
Showers and I'm like,
what's that?
it's like, you know.
I would think that, I
Hypothetical.
would think that it would be, and that's a good point, but it was just a hypothetical, I'm sure. I think it would be specifically for meetings for specific groups, you know. Alcoholics Anonymous, just pulling it out somewhere, right? That would give them a space potentially every Tuesday morning from 9 to 12 to do, I don't know how long it goes.
Right, and then you can just say it's during business hours.
Right.
Right.
I kind of like the Monday through Friday, weekends by request. I think that's the most workable.
Mhm.
in the
And I think we should go 9 to
9 to 3.
Yeah, 9 to 3, I think to start with and see where we go from there.
And then when people start using it, we may get feedback and we can always come back in and change hours and change
Right.
what we need to.
Okay, so we have a time. We have a space. Now we need a fee.
Angie, you suggested 25 an hour. Is everybody okay with that?
Well, if it's gonna be like a substance abuse or something like that, that is free to our residents and they're helping them, I feel kind of bad about charging them a fee.
Let's see, if we look down here, optional, I kind of like that. If user fees may be waived by the select board, insert relevant language here, such as by written request, the select board may waive the user fee for events that are not for profit and that serve a legitimate public and community good.
And in that case, you'd want to have like a cleaning fee. Maybe not an hourly rate, but a set rate for,
Could that be covered with the deposit and then,
True.
and then it's if they leave it a mess, then we have to keep some of the deposit to clean it up. If they clean it up,
that's a
they get the
valid,
deposit back.
yeah, that's a valid point.
There's someone on Zoom that would also like to make a comment since I don't know if that's acceptable or not.
It open.
But yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. We open it up to public comment here, you know, within the audience. And I think, you know, yeah, that's fine, you know. Please state your name when you come in, that's all.
Great, sure, thanks so much. Jeannie Alexander. Palmer resident, just a quick point of clarification, if I could. I'm just sort of thinking about the timeline that we're talking about. If like, let's say we did have an AA group or someone else who wanted to meet, like that 9 to 3 slot. I just want to say that I think a lot of people who live here are working like later than 3 o'clock. You know, I think that there are a lot of people who don't get off work until, you know, maybe 5 or 6 or whatever. And so I just want to some clarification. So are you suggesting then that evening, like that meetings would be between 9 and 3? And so evening meetings during the week would be not available? I'm seriously just like seeking some understanding, because as I recall at the last select board meeting, one of the things we talked about was that the space that like you're all sitting in, which is really a beautiful space that's been created, was also intended to be community space. You know, and I'm just like, I'm wondering about people who are working all day long and maybe their meetings, and again, not birthday parties, would happen later in the day. Thanks.
Thank you, Jean. She does have a valid point, and I thought about that. How could we word it? Why couldn't we set this up that the available hours were to be approved by the select board
Upon request. or-
upon request?
Well, and that's what we were talking about with weekends. We could do the same thing with after hours.
Right.
Those are on a case by case basis and after.
So we could do it's available 9 to 3.
Instead of
Monday
saying,
through Friday, or
After hours.
or
That's fine.
by request.
yeah, we something to the effect of we'll entertain special requests for after hours and weekends.
What available?
Because she does have a valid point.
Yeah, it is, but we were struggling with bringing people in and having to clean up. I mean, there's the
Well, I
point
think the
counter.
deposit does that. I kind of like that deposit.
Yeah.
And if we have a substance abuse group downstairs and they meet from 5 to 7 every Wednesday night, we know that, but they could come to us and request that. Come to the select board and request that, and then we have a deposit. And if, you know, and if they're here next Tuesday and they leave it a mess and we come in Wednesday morning or Tuesday night and it's a mess, then the next Tuesday they're looking for somewhere else. Right, and I'm just being. I mean, that's an easy thing to handle. You know, I mean, I don't see them having a bunch of chips and popcorn, but.
So I think we need to put in the available hours, and I think that just because of who's available, that's going to be what we were talking about. And then below this grid where we talk about the facility, maybe there's you know, we need a footnote, right? A little asterisk, and the asterisk says can be available after hours or weekends with special request. Please contact blah, blah, blah.
Right. And who are we gonna put as the contact person?
Well, they would be contacting during regular hours, so it'd be town staff. It'd be the executive assistant or administrative.
So it would be a request to come to the select board.
Right.
Yeah.
So it would be brought up at the next regular board meeting.
That's correct.
Yeah, so requests need to be made minimum 2 weeks ahead of time.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, now we got to word it into a motion.
But did you decide on security deposit or?
No, we didn't
No,
decide a
not-
dollar amount.
We haven't hit that yet.
Put it down.
I mean, I think you have to break it down. I don't think we can make one motion to cover everything in here.
No, it could be too wordy.
Right, so the motion would be 2 days long. I think the facility is the downstairs space of the town hall adjacent to the historical society.
Yep.
Well, actually, the motion wouldn't be that long. If we decide and put it all in here, the motion is going to be to approve, just like we do minutes or anything else, is to approve this policy. We don't, any other policy that we put into place, we approve it.
So tonight, we shouldn't be approving this policy. Tonight, we should fill in the blanks
And then come back with a.
Then come back
policy and.
with the policy
Yeah,
at the
but-
next regular meeting in February.
And then we've got we've got a little time to mull through it. But as you can hear, we're getting we're getting feedback that is changing our minds,
Yep.
right? So we need to be open to
Okay.
that.
Facility, everybody comfortable with that wording on the facility? The downstairs, the lower level of the town office adjacent to the historical society.
I feel like eventually we're gonna name it at this rate.
Put a name on the room.
I call it the lower level adjacent to the
The basement.
historical society. I don't wanna call it the basement, Brian, because you know what, just, it gives it a bad,
Lower meeting room.
gives you,
Lower meeting room.
right? I don't know, just my personal opinion, I don't care. I just wanna figure it out.
I was like,
Lower level space adjacent to the historical society space. Everybody good with that?
But downstairs portion of the town hall adjacent to Pownell Historical Society.
That's fine. Okay. Available hours, Monday through Friday, 9 to 3, or by special request, at least 2 weeks in advance. Everybody comfortable with that?
Yep.
Yep.
User fee.
I'm comfortable with the $25 per hour with with that optional language at the bottom. Was
That we
it
can
by
waive
written
it.
request, the select board may waive the user fee for events that are not for profit and that serve a legitimate public and community good. That's pretty good language. It's
Mhm.
straight from the VLCT and we could put it, we just put it right there.
Everybody good with that?
Yep.
Do we have a minimum user fee? Probably should, right?
A minimum user fee. I think the,
$25 an hour, is it a minimum of 2 hours? Or is it a minimum of 3 hours? Because if we don't waive the
fee, it's gotta be something,
fee,
maybe a
then we
minimum.
have to cover whatever we're paying somebody to come in here at 9 o'clock and make sure that the building's locked up.
well,
Yeah, I
well,
think
what's
you're
the
right at
deposit
25,
gonna be?
is that? That's about what we'd pay somebody on an hourly rate, and therefore it's probably a minimum of 1 hour. That was a good question.
Well, but are we gonna, if somebody's gonna use this building from 6 to 9
Night.
at night, they came and did all they're supposed to do, right? And they're gonna use it from 6 to 9 at night. Are we just gonna pay that employee 2 hours? I don't think you're gonna get anybody that's gonna wanna do it for $50.
Right, plus it's gonna be
Cause they gotta
time
be
and a
here at
half.
6 when our staff,
Are we saying that somebody has to be here the entire time?
well, we have to lock it up
Somebody has
because
to
of
let
No,
them
but
in
somebody's
and
gonna have
then-
to come and then
Right.
what,
Lock
they
it
leave
up
for an
at
hour,
the end.
then they gotta come all the way back over again.
Right, and
well, even, if they live across the street. It does, it doesn't matter, right? They still have to be available to unlock the building at 6 o'clock at night, be hypothetical.
right,
They have to be here at 9:15, or whatever. if those were the hours to come back and lock it, and are we gonna give somebody $25 for that? Yep, that's gonna be a select board member doing it then, okay, ain't nobody gonna do it.
Right.
I ain't doing it.
Well, wait a minute.
It's gonna be a time and a half.
The user fee is 9 to 3, right?
Yeah, but
The user fee is 9 to 3. And then when we talk about after hours and weekends are available by special request, please contact so-and-so for availability and cost.
correct.
So that's where we will come as a select board and decide what that's going to cost based on the knowledge of when they're going to show up, when they're going to leave, and we can check availability of resources.
But we should have a set rate. Yes, is where. I mean,
Personally-
That's how most places, they've got a deposit, security deposit, and then a set rate for usage.
During regular, and that would be true
For-
here during
for any
regular
time.
hours, right?
Yeah, but for any time,
Personally, I'd go with $100 minimum.
yeah.
Because if you're gonna waive the fee, you're gonna waive the $100,
Mhm.
right? If you're waiving the fee for whoever's here. But if you're paying somebody to come in here every Tuesday night,
Well,
it's gonna cost us $100. Because we're gonna have to pay somebody, whoever it is, Joel will pop in, he's good at that. Staff up. You know?
If it's a match,
it's payable to Joel.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it,
3 hour minimum.
3 hours.
But I think it's,
6 hours.
but I think if you
Right.
had a $75 minimum, then you're not losing money by paying an employee to come up here to lock up or let them in.
Right.
Right? You're not making any money either. You're covering your costs to pay somebody to do it.
yeah, cause even if we did a scheduled overtime deal for an hour online hour, you're still talking 2 hours, but that's at time and a half rate, so either way.
Right, we definitely want to get our costs, but does that belong in the user fee or does it belong in the special cost? Because there's definitely a different cost to us, the town, to do it during business hours versus doing it after
Well,
hours.
I think it's, you get a user fee
Hold
because
on,
you're still gotta clean the facility
hold on a
after.
minute. Let me look at the verbiage.
Well, that's
That's covered by the deposit.
that's the deposit though. You can keep their deposit if they left it a mess,
Yeah, hold on, let me read this real quick.
I think.
Oh, yeah, I mean, if there's any damage
Did we
issue,
have anything? Okay, so if we have, and this is the one-time use policy,
Mhm.
there's a user fee and security deposit in the one-time user. I'm gonna assume no, I'm not gonna assume. So we can cover that in the one-time user, okay? I'm not gonna assume, I'm gonna go to the reoccurring events because I'm going to believe that there's gonna be something very similar. There is. User will pay the municipality a user fee of X number of dollars per meeting payable, whatever, when or how often. You want a reoccurring. So if someone were to use it for a substance abuse meeting, that's where it would be a reoccurring event. And that's where you would come up with the user fee for that event. And the board certainly could have that as a to be determined fee. We don't even have to set that.
right,
You could set it when someone gives you that special request to whatever it is. So that if we were gonna do it, if they were only using it for 2 hours, we can cover our costs on a 3 hour pay scale or whatever. You certainly could have that as a to be determined,
Mhm.
in my opinion.
Just a
Carl.
Carl Strohmeyer, Town of Bennington charges for nonprofits $50 an hour and for volunteer groups $25. And they don't differentiate between the time.
Correct.
So, I mean, the way I would look at it is it's a set cost. Doesn't matter whether it's
Right,
2 in the afternoon or 7 or 6 at night. So,
I think we have that. I think we write it in there. I think $25 an hour on that agreement
Mhm.
is good. User fee is $25 an hour. The maximum occupancy, we do not have that information, so we'll have to find that out before
We
we.
have a certificate of occupancy
Not,
for
not for
downstairs.
downstairs.
So we're gonna have to get that in order to,
What's that?
I just have to call them and have them come.
Yeah, we have to call the fire marshal's office and have them come. That's why we don't have that information. So we're good. We have the facility, we have the available hours, and we have the user fee,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
So now you can finish that policy.
no, we don't have the security deposit, and I would like to make one recommendation in the opening paragraph.
That's a recommendation.
Oh, the recommendation is just to add a sentence right after the, in allowing the use of these facilities, the municipality will not discriminate against users of the facility based on the user's particular viewpoints. And that's straight out of the LCT. But just thinking about it myself, I think this language, I think, would help. The municipality will make no determination regarding use of space based on mission, views, or goals of any entity requesting use, so long as the intent of use does not involve political organizing or campaigning or for-profit business activity. So I don't think we put in here that you can't come here and run a store out of the, now when I first was thinking about this, I wanted to put fundraising in there too, but that might actually be a legitimate, somebody falls on hard times, somebody wants to run
Right.
sell pies or something downstairs to raise money, that probably should be allowed.
I thought,
So again, that language was the municipality will make no determination regarding use of the space based on mission, views, or goals of any entity requesting use, so long as the intent of use does not involve political organizing or campaigning or for-profit business activity. Are we comfortable with that? I think we do need to say things like that. We don't want somebody running their political campaigns out of it.
well, that's common language for municipalities. I believe that's a statute thing also.
Well, when you say common language, it's not in this policy.
Not in this policy, but it's, or commonly known, I guess is it.
Well, then, does anybody have an objection to putting it in?
No, I was just looking, I thought there was something
I don't mind the for-profit.
further, yeah, about the for-profit. I thought there was something about running a business already in here.
Well, I think we need to steer away from either the appearance of propping up or opposing a political party.
Mhm.
Just get out of that altogether by saying not political
Well,
activity.
I think Jamie's right. I think, isn't that already in a state statute that on municipally owned properties, you can't have political campaigning?
That's true.
Right.
I just don't want to be redundant 50
The
times.
only time that it's allowed, and it's only allowed within so many feet if the municipality or property is owned by the municipality for voting purposes, then it has so many feet from the entrance.
Actually.
Should we actually, I'm sorry, if that's correct, then should we put the language in here saying that this facility will adhere to
Yeah,
GSA, whatever
statute, yeah.
statute?
I don't know.
If that statute, if there is a statute that says that.
I could find it.
And they're probably,
And I think that's fine. I think that's fine.
No,
If there's a statute that says that, I think that's exactly what we do. And then if there's not, then we can revisit that. But I hate to be redundant 50 times over.
right, and
I
that,
do agree with the for-profit statement, Bob. I definitely agree with that.
and that might be a statute also, for all I know.
Yeah,
But
it might be.
But it's pretty common to reference statutes and policies.
Right,
yes,
exactly. We can look that up. Is that the only other thing? We have the security
No,
deposit.
it's a security deposit.
Yeah, we have the security deposit, and I believe that's it.
Security deposit, we're gonna get that bill, right?
If they don't damage.
So I would say
Not the amount.
$50 security deposit and then the $25 an hour. Right, so we agree on $25. What's the ladies from, I didn't miss something.
Yeah, and I think this needs to be taken out of here. on the security deposit portion of it. An additional security deposit of X number of dollars will be required for events where alcohol will be furnished. I don't think we should have alcohol at an event inside the town office or on town,
Where does it say that?
under security deposit,
Really?
if you read it down through. Yeah,
Um,
security deposit of whatever will be required for the use of the facility when any applicable conditions such as when a certain number of guests are expected, et cetera.
If
An
this,
additional security deposit of dollar amount will be required for events where alcohol will be furnished. I think we don't allow alcohol.
No, we don't. And in the next paragraph, it
Right.
says that, but.
Yeah,
this is
exactly.
the Model, this is the model
Right,
policy.
right. I just think we strike that right out of there. You know, there will be no alcohol and that's right there. Right.
so what that would indicate is that there is no statutory requirement that alcohol is not allowed. So it would make it, we probably want to incorporate that into the other language if what I'm trying to get at here, the municipality would make no determination, blah, blah, blah. We can actually throw in the alcohol if we need that, if there's no statute for it. If not, well, make this easier. Let's just do the language right here under the security deposit.
And it says right there, it says alcohol, tobacco and drugs, whatever, are forbidden on municipal property. So it's already in this policy. We just have to strike that portion out of the security deposit because that gives them, potentially gives someone
Well, we have to add it says alcohol, tobacco and drugs.
right. But in that security deposit, it said an additional amount, so it could give them the presumption that they could have alcohol.
Right, so we take that out.
We take it right out of there and then we're covered down on the
Covered in
next
the next
paragraph.
one. Yep. We're taking.
We're gonna go $50. So what the board's pleasure is,
I'm okay with $50. We can, and again,
Yeah.
we can always revisit if we find out our costs are exceeding
Mhm.
the benefits.
Everybody's comfortable with $50.
Yes.
Yeah,
So we're good on the facility use policy. We have everything, Tara, that you need to finish that up.
Yes, and I will bring it back to the next regular
The
meeting.
next regular meeting. Do you want to do the reoccurring and the one time? I mean, it's basically, the
You
only,
can just fill in,
it's just filling.
fill in the information from the policy on those.
You can, right?
Right.
Right, so they're basically done. Let me just.
And they'll actually have statements of use, right? So they're telling us what they're using the facility for.
Yes.
The facility.
Number of adults, number of 17 years or under, there'll still be at least number of adults over 18 years of age for every number of minors for the duration of the event. And we have to specify what we're going to require. We could certainly fill that in. The user will pay the municipality a user fee to be determined per the meeting. So I'd like to write that in there. Right, because we're going to approve or not on these right here. I just want to go through this.
what about the cleaning, what they're responsible for?
That's already in there.
That's in there.
I was gonna say, my version has, it's red and specify any cleaning activities that you want done, such as sweeping floors, disposing of all trash.
That would be in the reoccurring event agreement, right?
I'm looking at the one-time use one. Unless I'm,
Oh, I went to the top one, Brian. I'm sorry. I went to the reoccurring event one.
sorry, I'm in the one-time.
And right there in the heading on this one, for meetings and other reoccurring events at which no alcohol will be served, sold, or consumed. And in that, we probably should put drugs, alcohol and drugs at in the heading where it says facility use agreement for meetings and other recurring events at which no alcohol, tobacco, Right? Or illegal drugs.
Looking at it, I do not see what you're talking about.
Mhm.
Reoccurring one.
Right at the very top.
Oh, for me, yeah.
It's been a long day. We've been here since what?
Okay.
I'm trying to
Sorry
put
about that.
that on here, but it's not working too well. I'm trying.
Yep.
So I think tobacco and illegal drugs should be added right there at the very top, right? If we could have the alcohol.
Mhm.
So basically, we're in this, for the space that's available to them, reading this in red about the cleaning and there's no dishes to be washed because there aren't any down there. There's no wiping in the kitchen counters. Basically, it's gonna be a trash in the trash receptacles. There's no furniture down there. We're not gonna provide furniture for people to have an event. They're gonna have to provide their own.
Yeah, I don't know about all that.
Well, it's not ours.
Let me think about it. Let me do some brainstorming with Bill on the use of the downstairs space.
At least give them a table, some chairs.
So do you want to bring that back then? You at least have somewhere, so you want to bring the reoccurring and the one-time use back?
Yeah, so that I can discuss the specifics with him and figure out what that's gonna look.
I'm fine with that because that blows those two right away and we don't have to deal with them tonight. I'm perfect with it.
It's getting cold in here. Just saying.
Okay, so we're done with the facility use agreement, continuing discussion. Are you comfortable?
Yeah.
Brings up town officials. Town boards and officials discussion. I think we, after watching the meeting recently, I think we need to send our commission and board chairs a letter to be read at their meetings on questions and comments to or about our town employees. I want to word this the right way. I think they need to be, I think the board chairs and board members and commissions need to be careful on what kinds and types of questions that they ask our town employees who are also present at the meeting. Whether they're running the meeting or just present as a town employee. And I think we need to send a letter to them. I think some questions were asked of Hannah that were inappropriate at the time in that particular meeting. I think there was a couple of questions that were inappropriate.
Which meeting are you referring to?
Planning commission. I think that, there was a question that I believe was inappropriately asked of whether or not there was a signed lease agreement or grant agreement. I don't think that's her position to answer that question from the planning commission.
When I saw it, I was impressed with the answer. I believe the answer was, you'll have to ask the select board, which I
The
thought.
answer was not that I'm aware of. I think was the answer.
I was asked once, they gave both of those answers.
Oh, okay, I only heard the one, so I'm sorry about it. I only heard the one. I believe the one that I heard was not that I'm aware of. And you're absolutely
I
correct.
was actually impressed with the answer
Me
because
too.
it's, if If you don't feel it's appropriate to answer, then you refer it to the select board.
And
I don't think there was anything inappropriate about the question.
I do. She's not here. In that particular instance, she's not here as the administrative assistant. She's here as the secretary or administrative assistant, not the administrative assistant. She's here for the planning commission for their minutes and to run their meeting, or the DRB or the Recs and Parks or whatever she's doing. And I also think there was an inappropriate comment about the administrative assistant saying what can and can't be put on an agenda. I think that was inappropriate at the time. When the comment was made. That's why I added these. And if the board doesn't feel that those were inappropriate, then that's fine with me too. But I just think we need to send a letter to all of our boards and commissions that things like that from this board standpoint are, from my standpoint, and if the board agrees with me, that those were inappropriate comments or questions.
I think it would be very difficult for a board that is in, or a commission or a committee that is engaged in discussion, that they would know to not ask a question that popped into their head and they could possibly get the answer in the meeting. I think the response was outstanding. You'll have to ask the select board. That was an excellent response. But I don't think it's reasonable to think that people who are engaged in the conversation would refrain from asking an obvious question or a question. I don't think the people asking the question thought that they were attacking anyone. They were asking a legitimate question.
And I agree. I'm not accusing anybody of attacking. Okay? What I am saying is that I think as board chairs or vice chairs or whoever's running the meeting should be more aware of asking those types of questions in that meeting. And I think that a simple letter from this board stating that, to just maybe refresh. And I don't disagree. I don't think it was malicious. I don't think it was attacking. I just think they were inappropriate questions that our boards and commissions should be careful asking. And probably also the select board too, to be perfectly honest with you. When we're having a meeting, sometimes maybe, I can't think of one, but we're pretty good about it. I just think that the boards and commissions need to be a little more aware of those types of questions.
I would think that if we didn't think, there's nothing wrong with individuals sending I didn't think that was appropriate email to whoever as your own personal opinion. But I don't think we should be formalizing a letter to go to our boards and commissions that would tell them how to run their meetings or what they're allowed to say or not allowed to say, or to even come off at all as chastising them for engaging in discussion.
I think they're direct. We're directly responsible for them.
That's absolutely true. And I think it would be a negative to have them walking on eggshells as they're engaging in discussion. That's not.
This is going to be.
Well, that'll be how it's perceived, right? It'll be, that's my input. I think we need to give them as much autonomy as possible.
I agree with that, but I think when they start asking inappropriate questions or what seems to be an inappropriate question, ultimately it comes down to the select board. It ultimately comes down to our responsibility. They, whether it's the Parks and Rec or Conservation Commission or whatever it is, they're still directly under us, and the town employees are our direct employees. They work directly for us.
Of course, I agree with that they all report to us and they serve at our pleasure. For the most part, some of it is statutory, particularly on the planning commission. But that's my feedback is I don't think a formal letter from the select board would be appropriate.
Okay. Tara has something?
I don't have an opinion whether you should write a letter or not. I just wanted to point out the fact that I'm used to being at the table and asking questions. Hannah's running the meeting. She's not expecting to be asked questions. It's not really part of, I mean, is it part of her job? I'm not really sure. I don't know that it's fair to expect her to have answers or, you know, if a board is meeting, the planning commission or whatever board it is, usually they're discussing amongst themselves. And if they don't have the answer, they could say, could you find out? But putting her on the spot in that moment isn't fair necessarily.
And that's probably where I'm going with it more than anything. I think that's probably. What's the board's pleasure? Do we want to, do you want to have public input on this? Or do we want to just discuss this amongst ourselves? I think this is a board decision that's ultimately falls on our shoulders. And wherever we go with it is fine with me. Didn't agree with the nature of the question because Tara makes a great point. She's not here to answer those questions, nor would Tara be if she were the one running the meeting in Hannah's absence. At this time that she's doing it, right? Would Tara be prepared or should she even be prepared to answer questions at those meetings?
I think the better approach is to make sure that both Tara and Hannah know to answer it the way Hannah answered. That's a question for the select board and just walk on the question. I think that's the appropriate and professional response.
What's the board's pleasure?
Unless it was on the agenda with some, an email to the board about a particular subject. So you have time to take, like, they shouldn't be getting up out of their meeting to take and go and, you know, dig something like that up, I don't think.
I don't think that was but the question itself was, do you know, right?
I understand that, I'm just saying, but it could, if she had said yes, and somebody could say, well, can we see it? I'm just saying it could roll into something more.
Oh, right, so I think we need to be clear that our staff should be answering with, that's a question for the select board. And that just stops it right there. And I think that's the right response.
My speak as vice chair. Development Review Board.
What's the board's pleasure?
I'm fine with I'm fine with that.
Was that one of our boards? Chairs?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Okay.
Carl Strohmeyer, Vice Chair, Development Review Board. I don't have a problem having a letter sent to us, just reminding us of what Hannah's duties and responsibilities for our board is. And as far as we're concerned, she is a board secretary, period. She doesn't have, in her role, it's not right to ask her information about what goes on in the office because she is not there in that capacity. I mean, it doesn't have to be a record. It just has to be a reminder.
That's all I wanted.
Just a reminder to all of the boards, hey, Hannah is the board secretary. Her responsibilities to you as board secretary, not as, I forget what your other. Yes, I mean, yes, that. So.
I wasn't looking to reprimand him.
No, I
It was more of a reminder.
understand. I just a different opinion. If the letter's sent out, that's fine. It's not an issue. It's a reminder. Sometimes we forget. We're all getting old, so, I mean, it's good to have reminders.
Speak for yourself.
Okay.
So that's it.
And I think that's probably what I was looking for, but maybe I brought it across the wrong way, but I was looking for more of a reminder to our boards and commissions that, you know, this is what their job is. They're not here for your information, so to speak. This is their job.
And
Excuse me, let me break in for just 1 second here. There's a couple of people with their hands raised asking to be able to comment. You know,
I'll take your
people have
comment,
been
Fred,
able to
because you're
comment
the,
all through the meeting tonight, so if these people could get a chance, it would be great. And then I have a comment afterwards.
I'm not gonna take public comment on this. I will take comment from, because we took it from Carl as the vice chair of the DRB. I
Mhm.
will take it from the
Well,
chair.
let me make my
Or-
comment right now as the chairman of the planning commission.
Yep,
When I email the secretary asking for an agenda item to be placed on the agenda, I don't need feedback. I need the agenda item put on the agenda. With no second guessing and no suggestions that we put it off for another time. Let's put it on the agenda and let us do our job. Thank you.
so I'm gonna clarify that one a little bit. I think, and Hannah, correct me if I'm wrong, or Fred, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that she informed you that you could not add it to the agenda that had been posted because that agenda had been posted and warned and you didn't have the time to change the agenda before your meeting. Is that correct, Hannah?
It is, and I have the emails and I did tell him that if he wanted to, that was his choice.
And I believe that she told you that you could certainly add it to your agenda on the night of your meeting. Is that correct, Fred?
No, she agreed that after I clarified that we could do that. It was suggested that we postpone discussing that agenda item until you guys have your meeting tonight. And it wasn't necessary to postpone it, and I wanted that on there. So in the future, if I'm asking or if somebody's asking for an agenda item, we should get our agenda item put on the agenda.
Well, I think she did the right thing by not putting the agenda item on your agenda because you would have had an illegal meeting.
It would already been posted.
That's
Because it's already
fine.
been posted.
That's fine, Mike. But saying that we didn't, the other option was not clarified until I clarified it, and then we put the item on.
That's right.
And I was not, when I made my comment, I was not calling out Hannah. I was expressing my frustration with the process of trying to get an agenda item put on the agenda.
That was not the place to express that. That's my point. My point is, in an open meeting, that was not the place to express what was going on. That should have come to the select board, in my opinion, and the board can go where they want with this, but in my opinion, that should have come to the select board because she is directly under us, as you are.
Mhm.
It should not have been brought out in an open meeting where you called her out as the administrative assistant on that meeting. I watched the meeting and you called her out as the administrative assistant in that meeting that denied you an agenda item or tried to deny you an agenda item.
Well, in the future, basically, let's talk about the future is when we want to add an agenda item, we need to be able to add an agenda item. We
That's
don't
fine,
need,
as long as
we don't need feedback on it. No.
So long as it has not already been posted, then
Well, I
her
understand that,
feedback,
Jamie. I
her
understand that
feedback was
completely.
proper, saying
I
you could
understand
take
that
and do it at
completely.
the meeting.
I understand that, but there is the option of adding it before the
Correct,
before the agenda is accepted.
correct.
All right, so it's no harm done. We managed to get the agenda item discussed. And we just need to clarify the process. Do I need, as the chairman of the planning commission, do I need the chairman of the select board to approve my agenda?
That's
No,
not what I'm saying. Not at all.
Okay,
Not at all.
all right. All right,
I'm
so
just- I'm saying that-
we have a member of the planning commission with her hand raised. She would like to speak.
No, I'm just taking board chairs.
Oh, really?
for me.
Why is this, Mike?
Because this isn't a public comment session, Fred, and I took Carl and there was other people.
You're speaking to the board members as well as the chairman.
I did not. I spoke to board chairs
and vice chairs.
of boards and commissions.
And vice chairs?
I did not call out any board members. I said that a letter needed, in my opinion, that a letter needed to be sent to board chairs and board and commission
Well,
chairs.
this is exactly, it's an example of all the frustration that's going on in the town, trying to even to work with the town. The communication is a little bit off, and decisions are being made, and it's not really involving your boards and commissions.
Yeah, no, that's a huge misstatement,
Yeah,
Fred.
it is.
It's a huge misstatement on your
okay,
part.
yeah.
And, it was just a simple reminder. That's all it was.
Right.
Because there's a significant chance that some of the things that are happening are borderline workplace harassment. Okay? And that was one of them.
I personally, I think that's an overstatement. And I
Maybe.
think we should hear from people with their hands up. We do have the leeway on a select board to hear people who want to be heard on each agenda item. That we do have the ability to do that. And I think what I'm hearing is you don't want that to happen.
I didn't address the boards. I addressed board chairs. Right? And I did allow Carl to speak as the vice chair from the DRB. And I did allow Fred to speak as the chair of the.
Well, to be clear, you asked the board if we were okay with that.
And that's true. No, that's right, Bob, because I don't want to make that decision myself. Okay, I could, as the chair, I have that right. But I didn't want to do that because I certainly want to give the select board the chance for everyone to speak. Our
As a
board.
select board member, my recommendation is that we hear anyone who wants to speak. I think we run into trouble when we don't allow the public comment or the comments from our boards, commissions, committees. We need to hear each other.
We have public comment coming up.
Well, it's a matter of topic. We didn't wait for public comment to hear from some members. And this is the discussion. That's just my opinion.
Well, I did not wait, you're right, because I let the board chair from the planning commission and the vice chair from the DRB speak on their, because that's how I addressed it. I didn't address.
Well, hang on, we didn't call on board chair and vice chair. So you didn't solicit feedback from chair and vice chair. Pardon me, refusing the name, Carl. But Carl raised his hand and wanted to speak. Now, he could have been a different member of the DRB, and he may not have been the vice chair, right? So it wasn't that we called on a chair and vice chair and called on each one of our committees and commissions about this topic. The people who spoke volunteered to speak. And now we're saying others who are volunteering to speak are not going to speak.
I think
That's my position on it.
I think Carl identified himself as the vice chair of the
He did, but we
DRB.
didn't-
And then I asked if the board was comfortable with him speaking before I allowed him to speak.
Right, in my decision to say that I thought it was perfectly reasonable had nothing to do with him being vice chair. It had to do with somebody who had feedback.
And that's fine.
Just my
Bob, any
opinion.
recommendation, what's the board's pleasure?
I think we should hear public comment now is the recommendation. Or not public comment from anyone who's got their hand up, who's a member of any of our boards, committees, or commissions.
Any more feedback?
I don't really like to stifle our committees because we've chosen them to take and speak up for us on town subjects, so. How many people have their hand up, Hannah? And if that person's a member of of said commission or subcommittee, I think they should have the right to vote, or right to speak, rather.
Any more feedback, Brian? Anything?
I'm okay with hearing from members of the boards and commissions. Because it's on topic and it can be related.
And the only reason I didn't want to is I didn't want to draw this out all night long.
No, and I understand that.
Anybody for not being able to speak, I just don't know.
You realize it would be done by now.
Well,
We wouldn't, maybe. Hannah will allow it. Angie? Okay. You can allow it, Hannah.
Can you tell her she can go ahead, just because it didn't?
Cool.
You can go ahead, put your hand up.
Hi, Michelle Peckrell in the Planning Commission. I agree with what Bob was saying. As being on a committee, if we can't discuss and ask questions, I don't know what we're doing there. Nobody attacked Hannah or Tara. And if they felt that way, I'm sorry, that's not how it was meant. All we asked of Hannah was, do you know? And all she had to say was, I don't know, or as she did, refer it to the select board. That's fine. That should be the end of it. I can't believe I just listened to this conversation drag out for as long as I did just now. And we're trying to do our job. You're trying to do our job. We don't need you telling us what their jobs are. If we can't have an open communication in our meeting, then I don't even know why we have an open meeting. It was very simple. And if you want to say now what Tara's job is, what Hannah's job is, and that if they are asked a question and they don't know, they can say, ask the select board, ask the DRB. It's as simple as that. We shouldn't be going down this rabbit hole.
Thank you, Michelle. Are you
Thank
done?
you.
I
Yes,
don't
I
wanna-
am.
I don't
Yeah.
want to cut you off. I don't want to cut you off.
No, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
There's one more hand.
There is one more hand, they're not on the board, do you want to accept it?
Jeannie is technically, they haven't had their first meeting
Okay,
yet,
that's true.
but.
She is on a,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's on the Conservation
She's on
Commission.
commission, yes.
Hi, sorry. Again, I'm just like looking for more clarification tonight. I'm just gonna say, there feels like a lot of tension, and you know what? The business of government sometimes is. That's hard stuff, and I get it totally. But I also want to say, not just as a member of the Conservation Commission, but also as just a resident of Pownell, one of the things that I really appreciate is being able to just like kind of come into town hall some days and have a conversation with Tara or Hannah or anyone else. Like that's something about living here that matters to me. That's really great. Is like being able to ask questions. And if somebody doesn't have an answer, I totally get it. And if it's the sort of thing that is a select board matter, I completely get that also, and I respect that. But I just want to like have some clarification again. As a member of a conservation commission, or even as just like a citizen here, right? If I had the ability to come in now and ask questions, because I think that we all probably agree, like hearing from everybody, that transparency is important. We want that. But I want to make sure, like, you know, and if Tara can answer a question, I trust her to say, like, that's not a question for me, it's for somebody else. But I would at least like to be able to broach that with her. Yeah, I just want to make sure that we have like good open communication here. And maybe I've misheard what's happening tonight, but I just want to be able to have conversations when they're needed and trust someone to say, that's not a question for me, it's for somebody else. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I absolutely welcome questions anytime. That's not where I was going with what I said. I think when the questions are accusatory or part of a bigger picture, that's really what we're talking about right now. It's not just asking a question. It's asking a question to get an answer that could possibly be misconstrued as something someone did wrong. And that's where all this tension is coming from. So.
Tara, thank you for that. I appreciate that, seriously. And that's kind of what I thought, but I just want to like be very transparent and straight with that. And I appreciate all the time that you've like sit with me in your office to answer questions. So thank you.
Oh, definitely. Okay.
I agree with Jean. I mean, questions should be answered when they can be. I just think when you're in a meeting, that's not the time to ask those kinds of questions. And I just think, and I really wasn't trying to reprimand anybody or whatever. I was simply asking the board to send a reminder to, board chairs and
What the,
commission chairs and what to think about when they're asking a question. And I totally agree with you, Bob, that in the heat of the moment, when you're in a meeting and you're certainly having a discussion, which, by the way, the planning commission meeting was some great discussion and some great points. It's just a general reminder that be careful what you ask and who you ask it of in that open meeting.
In that regard, I think we've made that point.
I do.
Pretty
No, I agree.
solidly tonight. I don't think a letter is required. And I also don't want to, my problem with the letter was that it kind of formalizes putting people on eggshells. A simple reminder, which I'm sure everybody got from tonight's meeting, is all that would be necessary. And I would also say that I'm not advocating for putting our staff on the spot because I don't like that, just like you don't like that. But at the same time, you're gaining experience and becoming more seasoned in the job. Knowing that having that, the next time you get that question comes, it will be, that's a question for the select board without hesitation. And then we're not disincentivizing the discussion, but we're also helping our staff grow.
I agree with that.
Could I interject one more time?
That's a fair statement.
I'm a lot cooler. And I just wanted to clarify that I did make the comment about my frustration with trying to get a agenda item placed on the agenda. And I did state administrative assistant or needing permission from administrative assistant, and I did not mean to state that. And I clarified at that moment that I was not complaining about any of the staff. I was expressing my frustration with the process. And that's it. And I apologize to Hannah if she felt that I was attacking her. It was a matter of just the level of frustration had boiled over a little bit, and I didn't choose my words more carefully.
So I want to clarify one thing, Fred, that Hannah has not expressed anything to, as far as I know, to any of the board members, including myself, about feeling attacked. That was something that I felt, and I don't think it was an attack. I just think it was, as you just stated, a misuse of words because it was in the heat of the moment. And Bob absolutely touched on that when you're having a discussion, that things can get carried away. And I just wanted to bring it to light because I do not want to go through a workplace harassment complaint. I don't want to do that again. And that's all I was looking for, Fred. Wasn't trying to reprimand you, just wasn't trying to do that. I just wanted to have a clarification about what was, and I don't want to use the word appropriate. That's not a really good word to use. I just wanted to have a little clarification given, and I didn't want to do it in an email to people, Bob. Emails can be so the manner or the mannerism of an email, right? How do you take it? Is the person really, really angry, or are they being reasonable? It's just really difficult. And the letter's probably not even that much better than an email because you don't know how to take it. It's like taking a text message. How do you take a text message? Is it good or bad? Right. So this discussion is probably much better than then a letter warning, you know,
Mhm.
to be perfectly honest with you. It's not a reprimand. That's not what I'm trying to do. I mean, because that's a whole different ball of wax. I was just trying to bring the situation to light that I noticed, and I think that's my job as the board chair to, when I see something like that, bring it up. Just,
So I think we've gone far enough on this. I think it's time to move on.
me too.
So I say we close this discussion and move on.
Look at that.
Can I make a point of clarification on the policy language that we were talking about earlier?
Which policy?
The use policy. 'Cause I thought it was a state statute, but it follows under municipal law. Under the House Ethics Manual, it states no political use of building or equipment.
Does that, if that has reference material, then we should probably email that to Tara and have her input it.
Insert
If
the
it doesn't
reference
have,
into it.
but if it doesn't have the reference to it,
It just says it's in the House Ethics Manual, and then I had to find it within the manual.
so if it's a health ethics manual, and that's just, I would say just give her the title of that. And then we
Okay.
probably want to include a statement that says we will adhere to the health.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just wanted a point of clarification as far as.
It's a good find.
And that's for everyone's,
So good.
that's on the facility use agreement discussion that we had.
Got it. She wrote it down.
Look and see how I can share.
Okay,
She wrote it down.
she got it.
I got it.
Which brings up Old Town Hall discussion. Where are we at with that?
Do you want me to start?
Yep.
Okay. First, a really important point that I would like to make regarding minutes that are taking the select board minute meetings. Because this was brought up in the last presentation regarding the Old Town Hall. When I first came into this position, we reformatted the way the minutes are taken. And then in multiple meetings after that, the board confirmed that they liked the way the meetings were kept, that they should be summarized. And then every week from there on out, the board has approved the minute with very little edits, questions, concerns. So I would just like to mention that if there is a problem with the minutes or if community has concerns with them, please email us or email the board and express your concerns so that they can address them. Publicly shaming administrative staff or naming previous staff in open meetings is completely inappropriate and it shouldn't be happening. With that said, on July 27th, 2023, I presented the select board with an idea for a community center. I encourage everyone to watch that video because if you have not, I cannot share all that information tonight. I'm just gonna try to answer some questions that have come up since the 2 weeks. In that meeting, if you watch it, you will see the board made a motion that by all accounts was pretty unclear. I'm human and I may have misinterpreted the board's wishes. That, however, is entirely up to the select board. I am not elected and therefore they will decide if I did something outside of my authority or not. And we'll handle it in private with the same respect any other employee would get. So moving on. These are just facts about the Old Town Hall and the community center discussion. Something important to notice is that the fiscal year 25 budget that we just put out includes no additional spending for the Old Town Hall or community center. It's only budgeted for the current use of electric and heat, which has been on now for 2 years, almost 2 years that we've moved out of the building. And although I brought this issue of the Old Town Hall to the board April 14th, 2022, and again in September of 2022, until the public spectacle of my presentation idea was made, no one offered ideas or help when it came to doing anything with the Old Town Hall. The building still fits as we left it nearly 2 years ago. The expenses were, in an occupied building, $2,833.60. That is heat and electric. So when we were occupying it in fiscal year 22, it was $2,800. Fiscal year 23, which we were there for part of, I believe, if I'm thinking correctly, was $1,765. So what we're seeing is a huge decrease in electric cost, but the heat is still the same. So that could vary depending on what we do with the building. I want to also say that the select board and myself had always planned to get further public input. For example, the BCRC currently is getting to kick off their study on the village center and offering technical assistance on improvements. They'll be doing feasibility studies, surveys, and other public outreach as part of this project. The grant that keeps being mentioned was from the collaborative, the Partnership for Success. That is the same grant that has funded many of the upgrades to the skate park. The grant application cited food insecurity amongst our youth and the need for programming to address the needs of and provide social resources for the underserved populations of our community. The idea would be to install the kitchen with the use of that grant money and contact area agencies such as the school and Head Start to offer the space. They would run their programs with the groups meeting the requirements of that grant while still being able to offer the kitchen to other agencies such as Pownell Seniors Group, who could utilize the kitchen on other days. And I know they really enjoy cooking for election. They also do a Tuesday group at the firehouse, and they have expressed really wanting to move away from that and get into a different place.
Different venue.
A different venue, yeah. They do multiple senior groups on Tuesdays at the firehouse. I was asked by a citizen why the wastewater repeater could not be moved, so I reached out to Darcy, our wastewater treatment operator, and just asked her simply, what do you think about moving it? She said that it may be too costly to move the repeater because the antenna will need to be moved and repositioned, as well as all the signals from each applicable station will need to be tested and confirmed. It is possible that alterations to the station antennas and or equipment might need to be upgraded. There are so many variables. She really wasn't sure on what the cost would be, but if the board wishes, she will start looking into that. I have not gotten cost estimates on repairs yet. This is mainly because we may be eligible for a municipal energy resilience program, which basically would provide an assessment and then qualify us for more funding to implement whatever repairs are identified as necessary. And that would address a lot of the structural repairs that need to be made, the foundation and that sort of stuff. The mold inspections that I had done, it was actually, I believe, August of 22. They produced a figure of $12,028 from Servpro to clean up, to remediate the building as it sits right now. That doesn't include, if we were to paint or replace the flooring, the mold levels would be much lower in that case. So that would change that number. I have shared with the board the mold report, the old mold report and the newest one. And I shared that with a community member who requested it as well. So if anybody wants to see that, just please ask and I'll send it. And lastly, I just wanted to say that the town attorney is now researching the community's church and the Old Town Hall. So he will be able to offer the select board all of the array of options. And that is all I have on Old Town Hall today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Derek.
Just one comment on it, on the ARPA. I did want to address ARPA because there was some suggestions that we would use that for there, and that might be the right way to go. But we really need to compare opportunity costs, and that was part of what I was talking about in the 11th meeting. We have limited ARPA funds left. It's not insignificant, but we do have limited ARPA funds left. And if there's better uses for it, such as, first responders, if there was equipment they needed, that's potentially life-saving equipment, or if, let me put it a different way. If I had a really great idea and it cost X amount of dollars and it would save 100 lives, I have to be willing to walk away from that idea if somebody else comes up with X dollars and it saves 500 lives. That's what an opportunity cost is. We have limited resources. Even if it's ARPA funds or even if it's grant funds, these are all limited resources. And I believe it's probably better to leave this discussion until the BCRC does their work and comes back with recommendations, because that will cover all of the town green. And that's really what we're hiring them for. And the final comment I'll say is coming up with the community center. I think we saw from some of the feedback today that Tara, you correctly identified a need for a community center. Where we, and I believe it was more the board than our staff, more the board, is we were out of sequence. All right, we need to sequence our work correctly. And we need to make sure that we're talking to the planning commission and that we're talking to others to make sure that, that one, we're not doing something redundant and we're not doing something that's going to need to be replaced or torn out or will not, doesn't adhere to the recommendations we're getting. I mean, we are paying to, I know it's a grant, but still we're paying for some recommendations to come from the BCRC. Let's get those first. Is my recommendation to the board. We table this until we get those recommendations.
I believe that's what we're doing, between that and Bob Fisher under his investigation.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we still might find out that we can't sell it, but we want to hear that. I was like, I don't believe selling with easements is all that big of a deal. And I don't even think the center marker is a big deal. In fact, I think that's probably a selling point. When you look at Monument Drive, that catamount statue is probably a great selling point. I know we don't have a catamount statue, but that's probably a great selling point for that house, but they don't own it. It's, I don't know who owns it, but it's not owned by the house, but it's.
Those are all questions that the lawyer will end up answering and getting back to us, so.
Exactly. So we'll get those answers first. It may come back that we can't sell it, in which case we do have to think of something else to do, but we need to get that definitive answer first.
I'll give you that. It's just, I thought we had gotten a definitive answer at one point from Bob on just the building. Now we're asking him to research the church and.
No, I don't believe we ever got, unless I'm wrong.
I thought Bob was pretty clear.
Realtor.
It was a realtor who said it would be difficult to sell because of these hurdles. But
That
now,
we own the building outright and we could
Right.
sell the building, but with the
Right.
property with the whole church, that we couldn't sell the property without figuring out a division.
But I thought,
or coming up with a variance for use, a subdivision or whatever. Those are the things that we pay lawyers to do.
but I thought Bob also stated as far as the shared well and whatnot. I mean, there was a couple other things that were stated in that.
Well, hang on, we need to
Back when we,
we need to be careful of making declarative statements of fact that aren't fact.
Yeah.
And I'm not convinced
just-
that that's a fact.
I
I'm
think
not
this whole
convinced that we heard that
conversation-
From Bob.
This is all
Let's hear
moot.
it back.
We're waiting on the lawyer. All this is moot. We can go round and round.
no, I'm just
It's
saying.
not gonna solve anything. We have to wait for the lawyer,
Mhm,
let the lawyer do the research and get back to us. Otherwise, we're going round and round for nothing.
mhm.
So except that we have to wait for more information from the lawyer and move on.
Exactly, Brian. I agree totally.
Mhm.
And
Been here long enough,
exactly.
beating one dead horse after another.
Mhm.
I do wanna clarify something. And it was in something I read, Donna, that you had written about the church and who owns the church or the property or whatever. So we have the town, when I say we, the town, you and all of us have been told, I can't tell you how many different things about who owns the church and the property that the church sits on.
Something I said
No, it was in a Facebook post, so you had a social media post
about.
about the church and, yeah. So
I think it's kind of inappropriate to call out a member of the public who hasn't.
I just we brought up the church and I just want to clarify.
Things, I mean,
It wasn't inappropriate at all. You had a question about that, about.
Well, hang on,
Well,
I think it is inappropriate because you're answering a question that was posted to Facebook. That
Okay, all
if
right.
it comes up in the
So,
meeting,
okay,
Yeah, if
so,
she chooses to ask it in the meeting, that's her business, but to bring up something
Okay,
posted on
all
Facebook
right.
in the meeting is inappropriate.
okay, that's fine.
We've established that numerous times.
So what I will say is the town, when we asked Bob Fisher, and this is where the town hall came back into play. We asked Bob Fisher because we were at a standstill, the board, the town was at a standstill on who actually owns the church and the church property.
Mhm.
No one knows. There is not a public record anyplace that anybody can find.
do we want to bring in the church and have a conversation with them,
That's
with the board
where I'm going.
members?
That's where I'm going. So we decided to reach out to Bob Fisher to do some deed research, title research, whatever you want to call it, to try to determine who owns the property.
Yeah.
Which is probably first and foremost before you can do anything with any of it. Sell it or whatever. right?
That needs to be the,
That
need
needs.
to have a definitive answer.
That's right. We need to have a definitive answer on who actually owns the property, the church, the building, the carriage barn, all of the above. Because.
Yeah.
So we're waiting on the lawyer, which we've already established that.
Right.
Yes.
So I just wanted to be clear on that. No one's trying to cut the church out. No one's trying to do anything with the church. And that's where the town hall conversation came back up. Partially where it came back up. And I just want to make sure that, we know who owns what, because I don't think any one of us sitting here can say who owns the church or the property or the town hall property that it sits on, or any of it.
Right.
For that matter. And that's the first thing that we need to find out, is who actually owns that piece of property. And I just wanted to be clear on that. Is there any more discussion on the old town hall? Okay, I'll open up public comment. Under public comment, actually, this can go under the old town hall as well. It doesn't matter where it goes. I have an agreement here between the BCRC and the town that needs to be signed for the execution of the grant. Mhm. It's the board's pleasure.
Make a motion to accept the grant from the BCRC.
So it's a municipal planning grant. The BCRC is gonna carry the grant out.
Okay.
So this is an agreement with the town and the BCRC.
It's an agreement with
To
the-
execute the.
to execute the
well,
grant.
Yep.
And I can read everything if anybody wants me to read it, but it's just the agreement between the BCRC and the town of Pownell to, execute the grant. First thing that.
Which is motion that we, approve the contract. It is contract, correct?
Yep.
I'd make a motion that we approve the contract with the CRC to execute the municipal planning activities.
Technically, it says agreement for services.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the agreement for services with CRC in relation to their work with through the municipal planning grant.
Second that.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And they referenced that in the planning commission meeting on Tuesday.
Public comment.
Sorry, guys, my remarks don't come up when
Donna had her hand up first.
I know. What's up, Jim?
I'm sorry, I can't get the reasoning to, or the more to come up to put the hand up because I clicked on the chat thing, so I'll wait till you say that you'll accept me to come in.
Yeah, Donna had her hand up, I believe, before you did, Jim. That's all. Sorry.
Okay, no, thank you very much. I'll wait.
Donna Lozon.
Okay.
Yep.
From my vantage point, as someone watching at home, not someone sitting where you guys are sitting, and the view may be very different. This is what I saw. I saw Tara's presentation. I saw events, lectures, markets, social clubs listed as what people decided in the survey they wanted the old town hall for. Then I saw a meeting where there was that whole discussion about the next steps. Then all of a sudden I hear that there's a grant. I would have really appreciated, and I gotta tell you, I've been talking to people in town, they would have appreciated it too. Put something on Facebook in the banner, public invited to discuss Old Town Hall. We were told it was for possibly seniors to use. But I wish you guys would actually read what the grant is for, specifically, what that specific grant is for. There's been absolutely, you said tonight about a feasibility study. Did you reach out to the Vermont Department of Health and USDA? Because I did. And there are some hurdles that you have when you take an old building, especially one with mold, that wasn't safe enough for town staff, but apparently is safe for children to make food in. You may need other things like a telephone for emergencies. You may want to reach out and find out why schools don't allow the use of their kitchens. I did, and it's for liability issues. I'm not sure if you've already talked to your insurance company about what that might look like over there. And I think that, you know, you really have to, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I really am not. I think you guys do a thankless job. But there seems to be this, I don't want to say suppressing of information or, you know, you two seem like you're fairly smart women. People should be able to ask questions without feeling like it's a personal attack. I should be able to ask the board something without feeling like it doesn't matter what you say, or you don't have the right to say it, or just shut up and go with what we say. And people are getting the sense that that's what's going on. And I think that you should know that. And I think that a lot of this could have been avoided if we just would have had more transparency in the grant, more discussion publicly, and allow people to voice their opinions for or against it. There are people that still don't know what's in the grant, and that's really unfair. It's really unfair when you're talking about all of these, you know, issues that Bob mentioned and other people have mentioned. I don't understand why we can't know. I don't understand why the public can't give their opinions. And all it would have taken is to say, everybody come to a meeting, like you did with the Pownell Historical Society, like you did with the new town hall. It's not unreasonable. I assure you, it is not. And there needs to be more transparency, and there needs to be less, whatever this dynamic is of, you can't say that, don't ask that question. If you do, we're going to argue against you. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Anybody else in the audience?
Jim.
Jim? Yeah, I was checking in the room here first. Jim Kosis?
Is he still there?
Probably got to unmute himself.
Yeah, he's still in here.
I'm sorry, I muted instead of unmuted, but Jim Kosis, North Mason Hill Road. Thank you very much for a very interesting evening tonight. But my only one question is, are you accepting the recommendation from the Planning Commission to halt and cease having any further actual activities or discussions on a community center until such time as the BCRC grant is compiled and presented to the town? Thank you. Have a good night.
That's what we say.
Thanks, Jim.
I guess that raises am I free to speak? Does that raise the question that do we need an actual, a formal motion to put discussions about disposal of or disposition of the old town hall on hold until the end of I think we agreed to it, but I don't know if we need a motion to do it, but it sounds like, from public comment, there's still some confusion as to whether or not we're moving forward.
I don't think that,
We were waiting.
I don't think we're moving forward.
And I'm okay with it not being a motion, but let's make a declarative statement. We will put on hold any discussions about how to use the old town hall until we get the recommendations from the BCRC when they do their municipal planning grant work.
Well, we'll table the discussion until further information comes from BCRC and our attorney.
So do we want to make a motion on that, or do we want
Easier.
to, I think there's,
Yeah, I'm just not sure how to say it, but but I think it needs to be definitive so that no one's guessing about what we're doing.
so could we halt to give us time to figure out whether we need to make a motion or just a declaration, bring it back to the next regular meeting? But for the next, but it can be a halt for the next 2 weeks until we decide exactly what
Our motion is going to be,
our motion or whether we need one? Would that be a fair?
can we just make a declarative statement? I think we ought to, that we will not be moving forward with what to do with the old town hall until at least we hear back from the BCRC on their work and get their recommendations. I think that's, if at that point we still haven't got an answer from the lawyer, I think we're gonna get an answer from a lawyer long before the BCRC is done with the municipal planning.
I just wanted to both of them
Both of them need to be there.
for clarity.
So if we just make that statement, I think it removes the ambiguity in town. And then in the end, we may end up with a community center in the old town hall. But then we will have gone through all of the options with that money. We will have heard from the public. We will have heard the BCRC recommendation, and we would know from the lawyer whether or not we can or can't sell that building and whether or not that's even an option.
Yeah, because right now everything is 100% speculation.
That's correct.
And
So
We just make a statement that we're not gonna speculate it on anymore. We're waiting for the BCRC and hear back from our lawyer to see what our options are.
let's get all our options on the table before we make any decisions. It's really what that comes down to.
The only question that I have about that is, and I don't disagree. The only question that I have, I think, Bob, is I don't know if the BCRC is working specifically on that unless we.
No, they're doing the whole town
They're doing the
green.
whole town green, but are they specifically gonna come back? And I don't know this. This is a question for the BCRC. It's a question for Jonathan Huber, right? Are they gonna come back with a specific recommendation for that building, or is it gonna be?
That's not, their focus is not that building.
That's
Their
what I'm saying.
focus is the whole town green.
Right.
And that would mean that, I think that encompasses that. And they may say that would be a great place for a business. That'll be a great little place for, I mean, they may do all of these things.
We've been speculating.
But they can't really formulate an idea till they know the
Right.
legalities of what can and can't be done with the property anyway. So
Correct.
they're gonna kind of be waiting, so.
Well, so I guess what I'm asking is I'm trying to look ahead, right, and say, we wait, and I'm not opposed to waiting, but we wait for the BCRC to come up with a recommendation, and then whatever they come up with on this with their grant really doesn't bring that really doesn't bring the old town hall into life. So you know what I mean? And I hate to be in that position. So my question is, do we ask the BCRC in their scope of their work
That's
to
a good.
come up with a recommendation?
Well, we should ask what they believe their scope of their work is and what can we expect for the output, and does it include that? I don't want to add more to it because I think we already have an agreement with them.
There's already a work plan associated with the grant.
Yeah.
It has very specific things listed in it. I don't have it in front of me, otherwise I could share that, but.
And I have the grant, I don't have that.
But I think we got a couple of other things out of sequence too, right? There's more costs, there's foundation work, there's other things that I think we need estimates on.
Yeah,
I think
my only question was, I don't disagree with what you're asking. But do we ask them to specifically come back with a recommendation for that building, or do we wait?
how about we just ask the question of, will your output include recommendations for that
That's
specific
fine.
building,
Sorry, that covers it.
for that building?
I think that would cover it, sure. I don't want to wait, and then find out that they didn't even focus on that. They were focused on something else. That's my only, here we make a declaration, right, and their scope. I'd like to wait, and I think we can ask the BCRC that and get an answer by next regular meeting.
That's true, but remember, there are other open questions. What is the full cost? What is the full cost of remediation of floors
Right.
and of foundation work, which I think
Well, I think those are questions that you would then ask after you hear what their recommendation is.
Right, I thoroughly believe that we could wait 2 weeks because we're not gonna jump in here, we're not gonna have a meeting, so nothing's gonna happen in the next 2 weeks on this, and we wait for the BCRC wait for an answer to the question that we'd like to ask. Will your recommendation and your scope of what you're doing, give us an answer to that question and then bring it back 2 weeks from now and say, okay, we'll make this declarative statement because they have said, yes, they're going to, or no, they're not, or whatever they answer.
I'm fine with it.
And I think Jonathan would give us that answer. Ellen?
Is it still public comment? You guys kind of floated all over the place.
Yeah, no, it's still public comment.
All right, Ellen Strohmeyer. So a couple things. The mold in the old town hall, that was tested. We stayed in there for several years and none of us are dead from it. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't great, but it wasn't that bad. We had to stay there. So there's a big deal out of the mold issue. That's not really a big deal. We had to put in, I think we put in 10 grand or something, did the plastic, did whatever. Everything, it's better now than it's been. We moved all the old stuff from that old town hall. Mold spores are right down into here. So, you know, it couldn't have been that bad if we moved all our old stuff down here. We had to move the records down here, which are old. Everything has mold. This already has mold, you just don't know it yet. It happens. In regards to grants and the green, the whatever you guys are calling it from BCRC. That includes, and what's going on down here at the old tennis court with the parking lot, they've done an amazing job. But I don't remember having a public input on that either. That is town property. I think it's a great thing that, please, Jen, if you're watching, you've done a wonderful job down there, and anybody that's been involved, the kids have a place to go. But, so does that mean she has to halt grants also because BCRC is doing the Senate? Because you just approved one, so.
Right.
That's my comment.
But, so I believe the only thing that we're halting is on the old town hall. Not as far as the green. Is how we stated that.
I think we give it 2 weeks to the next regular meeting and then come back and we'll get an answer from the BCRC. We'll have a definitive answer from them. We'll stop speculating on what's gonna happen. We'll have definitive answers on a lot of things. Jenny, did you have a comment? Okay, sorry. I thought I saw your hand up.
I thought about it, but I decided it's not worth it. That's your comment.
Can I just ask one thing, ask a question? Would it be possible, sorry, would it be possible to add, I know you guys already have really long agendas, but to add grants? And it could either be grants. We're applying for one, we got declined, there's nothing, no change. And then it.
Oh, is it an agenda item?
Yeah, it
Okay.
gives the public, like, oh, hey, they're going after X grant. Oh, hey, I heard them talk about that grant. They got that grant. I think it might just bring things full circle to people that are watching at home, because if you guys are talking about it, you say, yeah, we'll apply that. You may never know until things are already happening. It's just an idea. It might help the people at home that aren't in the know.
No, I think it's a fair question, and I think it's probably something that can be added on every agenda because it's probably not gonna be spoken about 2, 3, 4 times a year, you know, I mean, and that's probably something that Joel gets a lot of grants from, you know, for our town highways. That, and you're probably absolutely right, that a lot of residents and taxpayers don't know that we have, because it's spoken about one time, we got a $250,000 grant to fix culvert on Mount Anthony Road, right? And then we speak about it when we're done with it, that this was paid for by the grant. So there's a whole window of months and months of time, or in this case, it was years, a couple of years, that before the grant was expended.
And if there isn't anything, it's just a quick, nothing, there's no.
Right, it's just a spot on a piece of paper.
I'm not a grant expert, but I believe there are different types of grants. When you're talking about infrastructure, it's a very different process. And when you're talking about parks, it's a very different process than it is with municipal resources, buildings and things like that. These are very different things and they don't all fall into the same category.
That's absolutely true, but I think we could certainly put it on the agenda that said, we have a grant for, ditching on Hidden Valley Road. Or we have a grant for, we have a $15,000 grant to add 5 slides for children ages 7 and under on the park and recs down here. That's kind of what you asked for, right?
Yeah, just to have things come full circle instead of looking at grants.
Mhm.
Oh, you got one, which one? Well, we don't know.
Right.
We don't know anymore.
I think that's fair. I think that's probably a really good suggestion, actually. Is there any more public comment?
Yes, one person has their hand up.
Hi, Michelle Peckrell, Planning Commission again. I think with the town hall, we should still have the attorney do the research because that may help us and the BCRC come up with possible ideas for the town hall, but we would need to know the status of the building and the land, and I guess also knowing the expenses if we want to put anything into the building. So that would help us with our planning grant. The other thing is, what is the status of the grant for the kitchen when we don't have a community center?
That was from last one.
We do not have a signed agreement.
And executed.
It's not an executed grant at this time. Michelle,
Okay,
okay, so
there's no grant that we have to worry about that we have no use for.
correct.
Just want to make sure and that was what I had asked Hannah, and she said, ask the select board. So here we are.
If it's all right if I speak. If I understood it correctly, it was a reimbursement grant, which means if we didn't adhere to their contract, then they would not disperse the funds. So hopefully that becomes the point.
Right. But there's not an executed grant at this time.
Thank you. Just wanted to find out. Appreciate it.
Mike, Joel wants to say something.
Thank you, Michelle. Joel.
Excuse me, I have one more minute.
Jim, Joel's got the floor, sorry. Joel Burrington.
Go ahead,
You can actually sit on them grants for a certain amount of time. A lot of them are like 36 months or whatever. So it doesn't really hurt to get the grant and have it sit there. If you don't use it by the recommended time, you lose it anyhow. It's like our culverts, and we were on both culverts actually right on the last year we had to have them done or lose them. It doesn't, in other words, you get the grant, you don't have to run right out and use it within 6 months or 12 months. You usually have, every grant's different, but a certain amount of time. And if you don't use it, it goes back.
You need to make me get my glasses on.
Yeah, and it's not like a big thing, you know what I mean? It's better to, a lot of times, put in for grants. I put in for them. There's a good chance of getting them, and then you go from there. If you didn't, you just, you wouldn't.
You might miss an opportunity.
You'd miss the opportunity.
I've been through this grant 10 times in the last 5 days, and I did not see a time frame on it. Do you recall one?
It's a year.
It's a year? Okay.
And there's, reporting deadlines and meetings that I participate in as part of the grant.
So it doesn't hurt anything. We'll either use it or you won't, it goes back.
And that's a great point, Joel, actually. I don't think that's a bad point.
No, that's a good point. I think we need to be careful though. Some of these grants come with contracts and we need to understand what we're signing up for in the contract.
So what I'd like to do is, I'd like to bring this, I'd like to research this grant out a little bit more. And have a date, how many months, if there is a contract, as Bob stated, in this grant. And then bring it back to the board. And if there's no contract, if we were to accept the contract or accept the grant and not use it and there's no consequences, then I would think that we could accept the grant and sign the grant. If, as long as it wasn't gonna cost us any money, because like Joel said, do we really wanna lose? Because if the BCRC comes back and says that this is a good use for the property, right? And as a town, we decide that.
Those are two different questions though.
Right.
If they come back and say that that's a good use of the property, we still have to read that contract and make sure that we agree with the terms in it. You can have a community center without the contract and without the grant. So we need to make sure that we're not signing up to something that we don't want to sign up to. And we have to make sure that grant applications match.
That's what I tried to be clear about, Bob, is that we look at this grant and we have 2 weeks to research the grant out. Bring it back at the next regular meeting and we say, okay, there's no consequences to sign this. There aren't any consequences to sign this grant for the town, other than if we don't use it, it reverts back to the collaborative. Right? If there aren't any consequences. And then if the BCRC comes back and says, well, the best thing to do is to do this, that, or the other thing, and it's not a community center, then we just let the grant go back with no consequences incurred. But if we don't do something with the grant, and that's what they say, then we lose that.
Again, we need to be very careful. We need to be very
I
careful.
don't disagree. That's what I mean. We have 2 weeks to research it out. And I think in 2 weeks, somebody can certainly research this out and see exactly what the consequences or no consequences are of accepting this grant.
What was it, a $5,000 grant?
$5,000.
So it's not, you're right, it's not a lot of money. It's just, so the point being is, my only point was that we need to make sure that we agree to the terms, because I don't think any of us have really gone through the terms.
No, I have it. I totally agree. And I think each one of us should read this and go through the terms. We all have the grant. Maybe the grant's out in the public. Certain portions of it, some of it falsely, but that's okay. Is there any more public comment?
Just one more minute.
Oh, sorry, Jim. Yeah, I'm sorry, Jim.
First of all, the contract that I'm looking at, it does have a time frame until August 15th, 2024. And there is just a one non-compliance. The contractor understands that non-compliance with required activities, reporting procedures, and reporting deadlines set forth above will constitute a breach of this contract. So, but the second comment I wanted to ask is, there's a lot of discussions, and I don't want to go too much more in this meeting, but there's a lot of discussions going on of what was the actual reason that the subject of the church property has come up. There are different theories that I'm hearing left and right of why this is happening at this point. So I'd like to see the board just kind of give an overview of why they're doing this with the church members and asking them all these questions and stuff like that. And then hopefully maybe come back with a definitive reasoning of why they're being asked all these questions and why it has gone to the lawyer. And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you. Have a good night.
We can answer the church question, without a lot of trouble. Where the town is paying, Ellen, what are we paying for expenses on the church, on the
We
property?
pay, I don't know how much they are, but we pay for the insurance on the building, we pay for repairs when the roof falls apart, we paid to take down the steeple, we pay
Snow removal.
snow removal, we have to mow
Oh, and
all the maintenance because it's on that land, but attached to the town hall.
I think, look,
So that's, but I'm just saying, so the discussion with them, I mean, we're footing the bill,
well, hang on,
right?
we are paying something. Do we know if the church is paying?
No.
We don't know. It's not that they're not. paying
Church does not pay anything except for heating, electricity, and typical.
They don't have their own insurance?
No.
I think before we make declarative statements, we need to bring the members here.
This is something that's
Ask them-
been going on for
Years.
years and years and years. It's nothing new.
I will make a statement about why I brought the church up, and I'm not afraid to make this statement. I've lived here, it'll be 60 years in June. I don't know who owns the church or the property that it sits on. And, I, for one, sitting on the board, would like to know what portion of the church we do or don't, or whatever own. And I think it's just a point that should be clarified for everybody in town
I agree.
of whether or not the town owns the church. And I'm not looking to get out from underneath, paying the insurance on the church. I'm not looking to get out from underneath paying the lawn mowing. I'm not looking to get out from underneath any of it as a select board member. I just want to know who owns the property. Do the taxpayers of the town of Pownell own it? Do the taxpayers of the town of Pownell own it with the church?
At this point, we're speculating and let's just
Exactly.
wait for Bob to come back.
100%, Bob. That's what it is. It's pure speculation. I stated this, and I apologize to you, Donna. I wasn't trying to cause a problem. I just wanted to answer your question. And Jim asked it, and I just want to know who owns it. And from a standpoint, we're spending tax dollars on a building. And like I said,
Well, hang on. Now we're getting into discussion. Let's get the ownership, because if they're paying stuff too, we don't know what they're paying.
exactly.
If they're paying also, I mean, I can see a situation, just hear me out.
Oh, yeah.
I can see a
Go ahead.
situation, if that was joint, then both parties would carry insurance in order to protect their assets. So that's just one hypothetical. But these are the things that we need to hear rather than speculate and claim that we own the property because we're paying some bills.
No, that's not
Nobody
my
ever
fault.
said that. Who said
Yeah,
that?
that's not what
That's the impression we're giving. So I just, let's table it until we get the definitive answer.
I was just answering Jim's question. He asked a question. I was trying to answer his question about why it got brought up. And that's the only reason that it got brought up is no one can tell us who owns the church.
Right. We need it clear,
Right.
fine.
We need
I
it
think we're all in agreement. We need.
I don't know how many times we have to keep saying.
Right.
The lawyer's gonna hopefully sort that out and get back to us.
Right.
Just stop,
Right,
like enough.
right. So I think, does that answer your question, Jim?
Yep.
Well, yes, yeah, I was just confused between the lawyer researching the church and the lawyer researching the Old Town office. So if that is one combined situation, then that's fine with me. I
It
just
is
want,
one combined. It is because they're all on the same piece of property.
okay, I just wanted to make sure there was no alternative motive out there or anything like that. Thank you.
If there's no more public comment, I'll entertain a motion to enter into executive for personnel for the executive assistant and the administrative assistant.
So moved.
So hang on, was I understood from the previous discussion that I was the topic, not the executive assistant and the,
We never said you were the topic. I don't know where you even got that from.
did this have to do with my communication, I asked, and the answer was yes.
No, it wasn't. Who said that?
Who said that?
Who said that,
I
Bob?
didn't hear anybody say yes.
Nobody said yes.
I
We
said-
said it was about the executive and the assistant.
And I've explicitly said that because it was an executive session, I was not going to answer that question. I explicitly said that.
Okay, then I will participate in the executive session.
That's
But,
your choice.
but with the way you said it to me, you were looking at me going, I'm not going to tell you. So,
Come on, Bob, really?
Second the motion.
so let's go ahead and let's go into executive go into executive session.
And there may be action when we come out. Just so we're clear.
Motion on the table.
I have a motion on the table. I get a second, right, Jamie?
Yep.
Any more discussion, questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
We good? I'll entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second it.
Any discussion, comments, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
If there's no other business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. There's no public comment after that, right? No.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.